Welcome to Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network, where we celebrate our favorite movies. My name is Kevin, and I'm going to be your host, and I'm very excited that we are going to share a movie that we have been circling for quite a long time here for Couch Potato Theater on the Fandom Podcast Network. This is Couch Potato Theater Aliens 1986, but not just Aliens. We're also going to be discussing the Aliens Expanded documentary that came out earlier this year of 2024. But before we go any further, I'd like to introduce my guest for this. And the next person I had to bring on to this because, well, we kind of share moments regarding this film. My lovely wife, Erin. What's going on?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Kyle, and I was doing something. I totally put off. You threw me because I thought that would be Kyle.
You get first billing on this one for obvious reasons.
Well, I was sitting there going, "Oh, why didn't I keep that Alien Special Edition wrapped for $999 on eBay?" Hi, everybody. I'm not Kyle, who I thought I would be. And g'day, mate. How are you?
Well, we're going to get into more reasons why this movie means the world to us soon. But as you mentioned, let's get on my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. Not my wife, Kyle Wagner. What's up, buddy?
Well, Erin, you may be his wife, but Kevin and I share a brain, as you have said on many occasions. So that's kind of how that works. So,
you're his wife in another life.
Yeah, I'm his podcasting wife.
He's my hetero partner. So yeah. All right. Well, let's welcome. Of course, we can't do this. We can't keep doing this without, of course, welcoming the Queen of Movie Foo, and of course, our co-host on Time Warp here on the Fandom Podcast Network, Lacey Adderhold. What's up, Lacey?
Ooh, hello. Not much. Can't wait to talk about some aliens.
All right, guys. So, yes, we are celebrating Aliens 1986, of course, and we're going to be discussing Aliens Expanded. For those of you that don't know, that was a really in-depth documentary that came out this year that was fan-funded. We'll get into more of that later. This, of course, is the Fandom Podcast Network. We, of course, are celebrating Aliens, but we do want to let you guys know we've had some other great couch potato theaters that have come across recently and coming up. And, of course, we did Roadhouse, did Losers. We also did the anniversary of The Mummy. We covered 1986 BMX classic Rad. We had Deadpool month where we released our original Deadpool 1 podcast, and we also did Deadpool 2. And, of course, we did a little time travel with Edge of Tomorrow, a.k.a. Live, Die, Repeat. And, of course, with Aliens being a Cameron film, and Cameron films have been released lately on 4K, we celebrated True Lies. Also hit 4K. We also did Spinal Tap, celebrating its 40th anniversary. And just recently, also celebrating its 40th anniversary, we did Terminator. And just dropped John Wick. Coming up soon, more Cameron Love, The Abyss. And we will be doing Deadpool and Wolverine, kind of like an instant couch potato theater, and celebrating its 40th anniversary coming out this December of 2024 is Johnny Dangerously. And our Lacey picked Christmas episode, we're going to be discussing The Long Kiss Goodnight. And next year, we're going to be celebrating the 1980s canon film retrospective. We picked several canon films from the 80s action film classics that we will be discussing here on the Fandom Podcast Network. But we are showcasing, of course, Aliens 1986. Now, Erin, I think we've got to prove to the fans, the listeners, the viewers, why we love Aliens so much. Because of stuff, you and I bonded on Aliens, but I think we need to start here. You are such a big fan of Aliens. You had this wonderful tattoo done on your back of the Queen. How long did that take?
It was 3 sittings: outline, shading, and one last shading, done by a wonderful tattoo artist in Melbourne named Kane. And that was at Fox Body Art in, when's that going back?
2015, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah,
it must have been because before the COVID.
Give a shout out to Kane. He's still tatting, right?
He's around. Yeah. He keeps moving further and further out. I need to catch up with him. But no, he was an amazing tattoo artist. I've always wanted an alien, and I needed to find someone who had done an alien. And a friend of mine had gotten a tattoo. It was on Facebook. And I went on to where she got her tattoo, which was totally different, like a flower or something.
Right.
And I looked through the artist, and he'd done more of a alien, sort of like a drone alien sort of standing up. And I thought, oh, that's good. So I actually had the movie Maniacs Queen, which I've still got missing an arm, don't ask. And I took her in and I said, I want that bitch on my back. And he went, no, okay.
Kane,
So
give a
he had
shout
that
out
to
Kane.
model it. And it was life size.
And Kane is in the Melbourne area, right? Of Australia?
Yeah. I don't know where he's working now, but you will find him. You can look under Instagram under Kane Melbourne. Kane Melbourne.
All right.
He calls himself.
Well, you and I, we go back, and one of the things that we did share is love for aliens, and we met each other for the first time in July of 2016 at Forbidden Planet in London, UK. This is our first picture together of course, of Forbidden Planet next to the alien toys, and we had our first date watching the 30th anniversary of Aliens at Prince Charles Theatre in London.
Yes, and that's where I used to work. It was all set up. I just wanted to meet you. We won't go into that part of it. I became the E1000. So, that was good. And you know what? Funny enough, we went in there, what was it, last year? Was that trip? And it's all changed now. I'm glad that I worked there in the late 90s, early 2000s.
You're referring to Forbidden Planet, not Prince Charles.
Yeah. Sadly, the alien. See how there's quite a lot of alien stuff there. Now it's down to about 2 blister packs, I think, and that's it. But,
for those that don't know, Aaron and I are married, and we wanted to celebrate in a special way. Yeah, there you go. We got matching wedding rings here.
And what sort of wedding rings have we got?
Matching it. Right now, there you go.
Matching alien wedding rings.
I have a picture of that, but we got married. We decided to go, thanks to COVID, things got delayed, of course. But we got married in Las Vegas on April 26th. So that is LV 426.
So you will never forget our wedding anniversary.
Yes. And instead of bouquets, we use face huggers. If you can see this on YouTube. And of course, great cute picture of us here and showcasing your alien tattoo on your back there. Love that picture of us.
And there's our pictures.
Yes, we went into with the photographer of all these set up pictures of some of our favorite movies. And of course, we had to recreate the famous Aliens cast photo there with you, of course, front and center. That was a lot of fun. And as we showcased, we got matching alien wedding rings, and we had the best alien vegan cake, delicious, wonderful artist that was local in Las Vegas made this wonderful cake, face hugger cake, and then we had a little alien groom and bride dressed up, and that was a lot of fun. So
yeah, we made that. I made that. That was very good.
Yeah, And then you went and you met one of the stars of Aliens.
It's true. Yes, I did. He came over to Australia, Michael Biehn, and he did a talk, and I got my Aliens original Australian one sheet signed. Could have done the signature a little bigger. I'm like, what?
Well, Michael Biehn, Michael Biehn. So yeah,
this is true, and it's an original. I was freaking out because it had been folded. You know how all of them have always folded, so they've got the crease, and it's all set up.
It's like the one on the right here, right? The one in the picture we're showing here.
Yes, I think it's
similar to that one.
Yeah, similar to that one, but it's an Australian one sheet of the time. So I'm sitting there going, it's behind glass right now.
All right, guys. First of all, Kyle, Lacey. We've qualified ourselves as alien experts to you guys, right? We're good with that? Okay.
That's fair. That's fair to say.
Kyle, I got to get your opinion on this. We've been circling this movie for quite a while. And finally, it came down to doing it more because of this Aliens Expanded, documentary, which we're going to get into in a moment. But we almost pulled the trigger on this a few times.
Yeah, we have, and it's been a matter of, is the timing right? When do we want to do this? You wanted to make sure Aaron could be involved, so there was scheduling with that. But I think it worked out for us because I think this is a great time to do it because, again, we have the Aliens Expanded. We have Aliens out on 4K this year. it's kind of been a resurgent year of putting Jim Cameron in the spotlight again because of all these films that we have never saw the light of day on Blu-ray in some cases are finally getting 4K releases, and the 4K releases on all of them across the board have been gorgeous. And in Aliens case too, we have a new Aliens film that came out this year. We had Alien Romulus come out this year, and we also have next year the Alien Earth series coming to FX. So Aliens and the Alien franchise is kind of back in prominence. Marvel Comics is doing a lot of Alien comics right now as well. So it's been a resurgence in Aliens in the last year.
Just glad finally, Cameron got off his butt to work on these 4K releases of his really famous films. So we're happy about that. Well, guys, let's get into the movie time. Let's start discussing the movie here, guys. The IMDb possibly vague and not always spot on plot description goes, decades after surviving the Nostromo incident, Ellen Ripley is sent out to reestablish contact with the terraforming colony, but finds herself battling the alien queen and her offspring. Short and sweet, right, guys?
Pretty much.
Pretty much with these.
Filming dates were September 30th, 85 through December 14th, 1985, with some pickup reshoots in January of 86. Released July 18, 1986. Running time was 137 minutes. Budget was about $18,500,000. Worldwide gross $131 million. And so let's get into how you guys originally saw this film. I want to start with you, Kyle.
So I remember going to see this in the theaters in Alaska. I went with one of my best friends at the time, and his dad took us. And I was somewhat familiar with the original Alien film. This came out in 86, so I was like 11. So I had not really seen the full Alien film all the way through at that point, but I was familiar with it. And Jim Cameron, I had seen Terminator already, because I snuck a lot of stuff by my parents. So I was familiar with that, and just going to see this film, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I know I really shouldn't be seeing this at this age, but I'm excited to see it, and it so lived up to my expectations. And it's one of those movies, ever since that first showing, I will watch anytime, anywhere, anyplace.
Yeah, good point. Lacey, what about you? When did you first see Aliens?
I'm trying to figure it out, because I think that it came out so it came out July 14th, which means this was an R film. So I would have been 13 and, well, actually I was 12, because my birthday is the end of July. So I would have been 12 and not allowed to see this in the movie theater. I know that I rented it a bunch of times with friends when I was working at Blockbuster. I was probably like 18, 19. So 5-6 years later, I remember one of my friends' dads had this like amazing setup for back then, like, the huge screen, which people didn't have in their homes back then. It was like,
is that like the rear projection big screen TVs? Those big heavy ones?
Like the giant, the bat. It was like this deep to the wall.
Right. Yeah. I had one of those. Yeah.
It came out like 3 feet from the wall that had so I remember seeing it at their house. But I honestly don't think I've ever seen this on the big screen.
Right.
Like the big screen, the real big screen.
Okay. Aaron, when did you first see Aliens?
I saw it at the cinema, Doncaster. Came out November 6th, so it would have been my birthday. Would have been turning 17. With my boyfriend at the time, Darren.
This is in Australia, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally remember it. You could probably sit where we sat, if the old screen was there still. But yeah, Doncaster, 1986, day after my birthday, would have been around about that time. And went with my boyfriend at the time, Darren.
It's interesting too.
The spider scene.
We've all recently seen this. I know Lacey and Kyle, you guys obviously have seen this on 4K at your probably at home. Aaron, however, you and I got to see a double feature of Alien and Aliens in Australia recently, which was a fun thing to do. I've also watched
Lido.
Yeah, in our seats. Yeah, we have certain seats that we go to at the Lido. So. Yeah. If you ever sit in those seats, we'll kick you out.
I kicked someone out the other day in Wicked. I booked those seats.
Get out, our seats.
My seat.
Well, speaking of 4K, guys, we recently had the release. I know they released them on digitally first, digital, and then of course they finally came out. We did pre-orders and such. Let's hold these up here, Lacey. Let's showcase these bad boys. There you go. And it's funny too, because you were talking earlier, Lacey, about how, did you see the third disc? You see how many special features on the thing? Yeah. I didn't get through all of the special features, but there's some great archive like interviews of some of these people when they were younger, like in the 90s. It was nice to see, of course, the late, Bill Paxton interviewed about his things, and they, talked a lot about the struggles they had dealing with the UK crew and stuff. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the 4K release. Start with you, Lacey.
Oh, me first. I watched it on 4K down in my basement in my nice comfy little theater area. I gotta tell you, it's gorgeous. I mean, it really is just stunningly beautiful. You forget how bright the opening few scenes are, and all the stuff like on the whatever, the space station or whatever, how bright everything is, and then then it cuts like to these just dark. I mean, it's the blacks are blacker, and the shadows are amazing, and the crispness of the light, and I mean, just that first scene where you see the laser come in, like, yeah, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
So it looks
4K.
so good.
That scene is beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, give your thoughts on the 4K.
So I got it digitally, so I've had it for a little bit, but the 4K master is just, it's gorgeous. Like Lacey said, it does what 4K truly is supposed to do. It sharpens it up. It makes the darks that much darker. There's only a couple places where I think the 4K kind of pulls you out of the moment because of just how it affects some of the aged effects. I think that first shot where they come across in Nostromo, where it pans down, that's a little bit rough. And then of course, the infamous crash scene on the green screen that's always kind of stood out in the film. Stands out even a little more in the 4K, but otherwise, this is what an upgrade to 4K is supposed to be. I mean, this really does set the standard. I mean, so far all the camera ones have been gorgeous. The Abyss, which I know we're going to be covering a little later in the week, with its darks underwater, is gorgeous as well. But yeah, the Cameron films, I can see why he maybe wanted to skip Blu-ray and agreed to 4K, because 4K is definitely, as far as just the clarity of the film and still keeping the integrity of a film experience, the 4K does a phenomenal job. And you have to add in the sound. Mm-hmm. And Aliens is a great one. As we get that Dolby Atmos going, and the sound on Aliens is amazing.
Aliens is one of those movies I've always made sure I've had more than one copy or version of it for one reason or another. And the Aliens 4K, you guys have pretty much said it. It's gorgeous. It's got some great special features. 3 discs total, including a digital code. Digital code though only comes with the original theatrical release. Mm-hmm. But the special edition, I think, is also on the 3rd disc as well. I remember they released the 30th anniversary version as well on Blu-ray, and that was a nice addition too. Also had digital, and then the old school one I had here too that has the also the release of the special edition. Have that one, and then when I was in Australia, I had to pick up the Australian special edition too, just because why not? Okay, guys, let's touch on something else here. Aliens Expanded, guys. So this was a special year for Aliens. Not only did we get a new Aliens movie, but they released a new 4.5-hour fan-funded, wonderful documentary called Aliens Expanded, a new species of documentary. And if you got in on it early enough, and you paid your tier, you got some cool swag, showcase the one that I know that Lacey and I got here. You got the Blu-ray, you got the slipcover, 2 posters, t-shirt, certificate, exclusive sew-on patch, digital download, but also you got your names in the credits as well. And they had everyone that was still alive part of this documentary here, of course, including James Cameron and Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen, and Aaron, you and I spent some time in Australia recently watching this thing, but it took us like 4 nights, I think, to finish it, right?
Yeah. Well, because, sometimes it went a little bit off the boil. No, it was good. I mean, it was interesting, but, you'd been working and, so, yeah, well, no, it was definitely worth, but I heard someone did it in one sitting. How they did that, I don't know.
Well, speaking of that, Lacey, did this in one sitting. And before you get your thoughts on this, Lacey, of this Aliens Expanded, I have screenshots here of our names in the credit. Lacey, there's you, and there's Kevin and Aaron of the fan credits that help fund this project here. And so, Lacey, yeah, you sat down and watched this. Oops, let's get you back in here. There we go. Give me your thoughts, first of all, on the whole experience and the documentary itself.
So yeah, the documentary is fantastic. It is 4 hours and 47 minutes long. Add into that the making of, which is an hour and 20-minute Zoom call between the three guys where they just sat and talked about how they put it together, and then the deleted scenes that didn't make it into the documentary, and it was about 6.5 hours long. Just over, I think, almost 7 hours. Between that and then watching the third disc on the 4K, which has 4.5 hours of special features that were not the same special features that were in the documentary, plus watching the commentary with James Cameron and all the little it was a spliced commentary, so all the different actors had bits and pieces of conversation during it. And then there are not one, but two isolated scores. One being the final theatrical score, and then one being James Horner's original isolated score. And so I think I've spent in the past 2 weeks, I think I've spent about 22 hours watching Aliens and Aliens things. And I loved every minute of it. I mean, the was fantastic. Everybody was great. There was a little section where they talked about, Paxton, and, it was great. I got to tell you, I made it through the whole documentary, and then I got ready to watch the first commentary, and I didn't remember that Bill Paxton was in it. I didn't remember that he was in it. And so when he said, "I'm Bill Paxton," I legit choked up. I was like, okay, wow, so it was good.
Yeah. Kyle, what about you? What are your thoughts on the Aliens Expanded? It took you a few nights too, right?
Yeah, I had to break this into a couple of nights. Aaron, it's glad to see you back popped in. I thought the company might have gotten a hold of you while we were podcasting. It was definitely some unique insights. There was some of the stuff I had actually heard about and seen already. Sorry for the noise in the background. My printer decided to firmware update. But yes, it was very well done. They did a phenomenal job with it. It was obviously done with a ton of love and care for the franchise and for this particular film. And just a lot of insights. If you're an Aliens fan, you need to see this because you will find out things, and actually it makes some things very understandable. But the thing I pulled out of it more than anything was how much of a family that cast and crew became in that film, especially the cast and Jim Cameron, and how tight they are and the reverence they talk about for each other, no matter how big their role was in the film. And I think that is absolutely phenomenal.
That's a good point, Kyle. One of the things that I got from it when Aaron and I were watching it was the way they mapped it out. And I'm just going to say this. I know I'm biased because I love this movie so much. It's also something that Aaron and I have bonded on. But when I look at all the other documentaries about movies, or, a lot of famous movies on the special edition of their video releases will have documentaries. This is the best one I've ever seen. And I'm so glad that they made it as long as it is. Because, you obviously, if you're not Lacey, you're going to watch it in parts. But it's and I'm not making fun of you, Lacey. I think that's amazing that you did that because you probably retained a lot of stuff being able to watch it all together. But one of the things,
3 scarves. I mean, I crocheted 3 scarves while watching that documentary. It was great. I just sat and I'm just.
One of the things I really liked about it was that they kind of followed the movie all from the beginning to the end with the documentary in a way, which I liked, where they covered it in portions and talked about it. But then also too, everyone that is alive pretty much in the cast was there. Of course, the only person that wasn't there was Bill Paxton for obvious reasons, and Al Matthews, who played a Bone. But when they came to a character's death, they spent time with that actor and them talking about it. and the input they've received on it and stuff like that. The actor that plays Spunkmeyer still thinks that he's still alive because you don't see him die. But, it was done in a loving way as well. And I loved how in-depth that it was. And Aaron, I just want to get your expanded thoughts on this because, obviously we did it in a few nights, but it was pretty fascinating. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, it was, lots of fun anecdotes of what happened and seeing them all now and then seeing them all then. And again, you don't really... It's the main cast, you see things on Sigourney Weaver and that, but to get the sort of that second and third tier group that might have only had like one scene in the mess hall sort of thing and then died in the first 5 seconds, where's Bowski? Which I always thought they said, where's Bowski? I've always heard it.
I think I thought that at time as well.
It will always get me. Where's Bowski? But to actually hear from them was lots of fun, and again from all the people who put it together and stuff. So
I always thought they were saying where's Vasky, like as in shortened Vasquez.
I know. Where's Bowski?
I'm the only one who has ever thought it was Waspowski, apparently.
So I want to showcase a couple things first. But before I forgot to mention I had seen Aliens first before I saw the original Alien movie. And I saw Aliens on VHS. I never saw it in the theater. And then, of course, I went back and watched the original Alien. And it was nice to finally see them both on the big screen when you and I both went, Aaron. Regarding the Aliens Expanded documentary here, you can the company that makes it, Creator VC, you can find them online. I know they've been selling that. They sold out for a while of the Blu-rays, and then they made them available again. And then without the special stuff that you came with, you can just buy the Blu-rays, but you can also go up there and buy the digital copy as well. But I did want to showcase a couple of things here regarding what you get. First of all, I got to show you the cool t-shirt here, the Aliens Expanded t-shirt. You get one of these bad boys right there. And then you also get 2 posters here of it here. Not to mention this cool Aliens Expanded patch. There's also a certificate that comes with your purchase. And then, of course, you get the awesome Blu-ray with the slip cover. I want to showcase the Blu-ray here. And there's a really nice booklet that's on the inside. If you try searching for these on eBay right now, they are not cheap. I'll tell you that right now. I think they re-released just the Blu-rays for like $60 through Creator VC. I don't know if they're going to go down, if they're going to make more. But it's one of the best documentaries that I've ever seen, and it's definitely worth a visit if you're a huge Aliens fan. So anyway, guys, I think it's time to get into the main part of the show. Let's talk about Aliens. Lacey, did you want to say something? You put your hand up.
Sorry, while you're on their website, by the way, they also did a documentary called In Search of Tomorrow, which is sci-fi, like from the 90s, from 80s and 90s. They also did one on horror films, which is called
they're the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
no, they did one. They also did one of these for The Thing as well.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, In Search of Darkness. You can get it on Shudder. So good.
Yeah. So just to highlight those guys, they are some of the best interviewers. Like they're like up there with Barbara Walters and like they're really good at what they do.
Well, I think it because it caters to. They're not speaking down at you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's very, and again with the horror stuff, it was 80s horror. It was really for our generation, if you want to go with Gen X, because that's who was watching it at the time. So they got a lot of people that you everyone was it didn't sit there and we can talk about this later, the laser disc of Alien and why never to listen to the director's commentary, because, but we'll talk about that later. But it was very it was easy to watch.
Yeah.
What they were discussing. You didn't start going, oh, what are they talking? What? Who?
Well, let's
all the documentaries they do it.
Let's get into the Aliens 1986 discussion here, guys. This movie is revered for many, many reasons. It's revered as one of the best sequels of all time, one of the most quoted movies of all time, one of the best casted actor movies of all time. I just want to kind of get your opening thoughts and discussion about this movie. Kyle, I'm going to start with you.
Aliens, in my opinion, it might be the greatest sequel ever made. It's a perfect. It is a perfect film. We've talked about this on several shows around here. It's a perfect film because there's so many aspects of it too. It's incredibly well acted. It's made with passion that Cameron had, especially at that time for his projects. It stood the test of time with its effects, with everything that's in it. Your characters are remembered. I truly believe it's the most quotable movie of all time. I just think that there's everything about it that's memorable. And I think it's one of those movies too. You go back into the 80s and yes, it was a big movie at the time in the theaters, but because of the boom of VHS and home video, Aliens just infiltrated everything. And I think it's one of those films too that if you're being honest, except for maybe the original film, it just outshines everything else that's been done around it. It's the flagship. I think it's might be Apex Mountain for Sigourney Weaver, and I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's just there's so much about it that's right. And there's so much about it that fits that time, but is timeless as well. And it just works on so many levels. And again, the xenomorph has become one of the biggest creatures in the history of cinema and pop culture.
Aaron, why did Aliens resonate with you?
I didn't see Alien at the cinema because I got banned because would have been 7 at the time and Jaws scared me. So I wasn't
Aliens?
Alien. So I didn't see Alien at the cinema. I saw Alien on video. I saw Aliens at the cinema. And I mean, I love the aliens themselves. And I actually really like Cameron's design because they never wanted to pay for Geiger to do the design again. And he's an artist. So all those designs are Geiger inspired, not created by Geiger. So his alien queen is a lot different. She's more insect-like, and that's the whole going with the hive and how they went with that sort of timeline and version and origin of the story. So, and again, watching it, it's very quotable. All the actors are great. I am a massive fan of the original and not of the special edition.
Hold on to that thought because we're going to have that discussion at the end. I want to get your thoughts.
So I only see Aliens as the original, as a perfect movie, and then it crashes and burns with the special edition.
Lacey, give me your initial thoughts on why this movie is special to you.
I think that it is, like everyone is saying, it's one of the most quotable movies. It's one of my, it's probably my top 3 Paxton movies. True Lies and, being one of the other ones. It's scary without being scary. I'm like I said, I've said this before, I don't do horror movies, right? So I have to be able to convince myself that it's a different genre that just happens to have some scary stuff in it, right? So for me, Aliens, I mean, it's a space movie with a little bit of suspense and scare kind of thrown in. And for me, I really enjoyed the fact that it was like a war movie in space. I mean, it's a war movie in space, and I mean, all the characters were so individually, kind of fleshed out. And I think that from script to direction to the score to the special effects, the physical SFX, I mean, I agree. It's one of those ones that are, if not perfect, is pretty darn close.
Yeah, well said. To me too, I've always been a fan of the action genre. It's a great action space movie as well. But it's so grounded in so many ways of the way the sets are done and the way the characters are mingling with each other and, the props and stuff like that. It's one of the things that just makes you feel like, it stands the test of time to a certain degree too, which is one of the things. And I want to give a shout out to, we do have some accolades for this movie. Aliens received 2 awards at the 87 Academy Awards for Best Sound Effects Editing by Don Sharp and Best Visual Effects. Robert Skotak, Stan Winston, John Richardson, and Suzanne Benson. Weaver was nominated for Best Actress, losing to Marlee Matlin for the romantic drama Children of a Lesser God. Weaver's was the first Best Actress nomination given for a science fiction film at a time when the genre was given little respect, and it remained a rarity for the action or science fiction genres. The film garnered 4 more nominations: Best Original Score for Horner, Best Art Direction for Peter Lamont and Crispin Salas, Best Editing by Ray Lovejoy, and Best Sound for Graham Hartston, Nicholas Le Monsieur, Michael A. Carter, and Roy Carmen. Also, at the 44th Golden Globe Awards, Weaver was nominated for Best Actress in a Drama. I just want to shout out Weaver here. Being nominated for Best Actress in a sci-fi action movie, that was a big deal.
Yeah, especially at that time, because Sci-Fi got no respect from the Academy at that time.
This is true.
It still struggles. I mean, let's face it, it's still not super great when it comes to sci-fi. That's why we love the Saturn Awards.
So we like to have some fun with some trivia here, guys. And Kyle, if you want to take some turns here, we could do this. I do have some trivia about someone that was cast as someone else. We're going to save that for the Indiana Jones casting thing, though. So you guys know what I'm talking about. But Kyle, go ahead and hit us up with the first trivia there.
Sure. Like most films, the movie wasn't shot in sequence, but for added realism, James Cameron filmed the scenes where we first meet the Colonial Marines, one of the earliest scenes last. This was so that the camaraderie of the Marines was realistic because the actors had spent months filming together.
So basically, everyone that was in that scene, in the opening scene, saw each other die. If you think about that. Lacey, I don't know if you have your notes up. Do you want to read number 2?
I do not.
Oh, no worries. I got this one.
I'll the next one.
Bill Paxton continuously apologized to Carrie Henn throughout filming every time Hudson had to swear in front of her. Henn later admitted that she didn't mind, mainly because she didn't really know what any of the words meant. Years later, during cast reunions, Henn had grown up so much that Paxton didn't even recognize her when they reunited.
There was a funny story about that in the Aliens Expanded, where how she had to hunt him down and get past the security until he finally recognized her.
That's a good point. You want to read number 3 there for us, Kyle?
Sure. Lance Henriksen had privately pledged to quit acting if this part didn't work out for him after years of journeyman roles. It proved to be one of his most successful films.
Sigourney Weaver was paid $1 million to reprise her role as Ripley, a 30-fold increase in the salary from Alien 1979. She also received a percentage of the film's gross. Her salary would increase with every subsequent Alien movie. $5.5 million for Alien 3 in 92, and finally $11 million for Alien Resurrection in 97, though the film subsequent became less and less profitable. Kyle, get us with number 5 there.
The Alien Nest set was kept intact after filming. It was later used as the Access Chemicals, holy chemicals, Batman, set for Batman 1989. When the Batman crew first entered the set, they found most of the Alien Nest still intact. So what they were saying is that Batman is actually a Batman versus Aliens film?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wasn't that a Dark Horse comic?
What's that?
Wasn't that a Dark Horse comic? Not really, but you know.
Al Matthews, who played a Marine sergeant in the film, was a real-life first Black Marine to be promoted to the rank of sergeant in the field during service in Vietnam. Also, Lance Henriksen is also a U.S. Navy veteran. Kyle, hit us the next one there.
Yeah, this film was never shown to test audience because editing and scoring was not completed until the week before its theatrical release. Only a studio screening was performed for 20th Century Fox executives, which was enthusiastically received. Marketing experts later said that Aliens probably helped save Fox, which was in desperate need of a hit at the time. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Now, this 8th one I want to have a short discussion about, guys. And this is the what could have been, but didn't. In 2015, it was rumored that Sigourney Weaver would return as Ripley for the first time in 20 years since Alien Resurrection in 97. The 5th film would ignore Alien 3 in 92 and Resurrection as if it never happened, such as a dream in Ripley's mind, or would be set in an alternate timeline. Neil Blomkamp was attached as director, with Ridley Scott, director of Alien 1979, producing. However, in 2017, Blomkamp stated that the project was unofficially dead because the studio had preferred to complete Scott's Alien prequel trilogy, which started with Prometheus in 2012. Scott later added that Blomkamp's project had never been more than some ideas and artwork without a completed script. And the pictures that I'm showing you here on the slideshow on YouTube is obviously the picture of an older Hicks still alive, and Ripley. That is a fan-generated art, of course. But the picture to the right is what Neil Blomkamp actually put on social media. It is one of the pulse rifles that would have made it into the film, or at least a prototype copy of this. Kyle, do you remember this? Because we got excited about this. I know I did.
Oh, do I remember this? I am still angry over this. Yeah, District 9 was a huge deal at the time. Blomkamp was blowing up. He presented Sigourney with a script, and Sigourney said, if I'm doing Alien, this is the only way I'm doing it. And Neil Blomkamp set out to fix the wrongs that had been done to the Alien franchise from Alien 3 on. And basically, he was going to wipe out Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection from canon with this film. And I think it was a phenomenal script from everybody who's talked about it. He had some great ideas. And then Ridley Scott basically said, no, I'm doing my thing, and told Fox it's either me or him. And Fox basically killed it. And Sigourney Weaver still has not forgiven Fox over what has happened with this film.
Yeah, I have more information on it. Ever since director Ridley Scott announced that his Prometheus 2, and this was at this time, so we didn't know that it was going to be Aliens, whatever it was.
Covenant.
Ever since Ridley Scott announced his Prometheus 2 sequel is titled Alien Paradise Lost, that was the original title, fans have wondered what become of Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5. Well, for starters, it will technically be Alien 7, not counting the 2 Alien versus Predator movies, bringing those into the mix. And Neil Blomkamp is actually making Alien X. Also, it will have the iconic Alien rifle on display. Of course, this was mentioned back in the day. I think the movie Chappie might have hurt Blomkamp's cred on this, because that movie tanked and it was not good. And maybe that was one of the reasons why. But, obviously Ridley went on with his films as well. So what could have been kind of sad, but yeah.
I think Ridley Scott is more the reason than anything this movie got tanked. Because I think even though Chappie did bad, people were still very high on Blomkamp. And I think this was all about the ego of Ridley Scott, because from what I heard, even Cameron was impressed with Blomkamp's treatment for Aliens.
Aaron, do you remember this at the time? Did you have a horse in the race? Were you interested in this possible sequel, counting out Alien 3? Was this anything that you were kind of...
No, I remember it. Yeah, I remember it, seeing things and stuff like that. I mean, I love District 9. It's hard to watch, but I love watching it.
Good movie, yeah.
And then after that was Elysium, or whatever it was, the Matt Damon one. So he didn't live up to his first one. I always thought it might have been that, but again, we're talking about Prometheus and stuff like that later on. But I think it would have been a good idea. I think Alien 3. And then again, and there were so many ideas with Alien 3, because Joss Whedon was in on the script for Alien 3 and stuff like that. And then Alien 4 again has moments, but not. So yeah, I think it would have been a nice washing out of the mouth with soap, plans,
Lacey,
if it had gone through.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lacey, do you remember this at all? Do you remember the talk of this new Alien movie with, ignoring Alien 3 at all?
I remember a lot of people that I knew talking about it. I also remember, because I am much like Aaron thinks that Terminator is the Terminator and needs to be done. No more movies. This is the one Alien movie that I enjoy. And it's the one that I have in my collection. I've been gifted the quadrilogy like 4 times, and I keep just putting it in garage sales.
So a possible sequel at the time was kind of like,
it didn't blow my skirt up. No.
Gotcha. I like that. That's funny.
Kevin,
all right,
I just want to add real quick. The other thing that tied into all this was Dark Horse Comics had done a phenomenal Aliens miniseries that was a true sequel to the Aliens film that people absolutely love, and that's what they really wanted to see made into a movie. And
so they had older Ripley and Hicks in that?
Yeah. It was it was written before Alien 3 had ever even come out. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, let's get into the impossible task of our next segment here, guys. Category is favorite scenes and quotes. Let's start with your favorite scenes. I got some slides. I just picked some. I know it's tough, but Aaron, you and I, of course, have bonded on this film. What are some of your favorite scenes in Aliens?
Wait, you have to say, what are none of my favorite scenes? And that's
I know, right?
they're all good. All of them. I mean, okay.
I know it's tough. It's like, where do you start?
I mean, there's the obvious, I always like look into my eye, and it's a dry heat, and
No, we're talking about scenes. We're talking about scenes. Though.
Okay, well, those scenes. Yeah. Well, then all of them. I don't know. There's not any real. I mean, the face huggers, a great scene. I love the all sitting around eating. That got us all into all the characters. And we still didn't know about Bishop. Because I like that they kept that all the way through, that you're like, no, is he going to turn? Is he going to turn? And he didn't. I love the lead up to go into the biggest one is they had a lot of set pieces where the music sets up to
right.
James Bond's music, brings up. And I think my favorite is the going into the hive.
Yeah.
Then giving away the magazines. Then having the face hug and all that up to everyone until she bursts out of the place on that big, whatever it is, driving things that she drove. All of that. That's probably the best part of all of it.
Yeah.
Because it has everything. It has suspense, action. It literally, you could pull every genre, horror. It's the reason why in England, it was rated 18 on video. So you had to be 18 to rent it, was because of the chest burster.
Yeah.
Now it would be like PG. Back then, and then we had to sell it. We couldn't sell the box set to people under 18 because Aliens was still 18 rating on a video or a DVD. So, I mean.
It's tough to choose. I know.
All of them.
Lacey, what are some of your favorite scenes in Aliens?
I have a few. For the Sigourney Weaver, the very beginning when she says, "I feel like a fifth wheel." Is there anything I can do? And he says, "I don't know. Is there anything you can do?" And she jumps in the loader and says, "Where do you want it?" And just Apone, his laughter, like that kind of deep guttural laughter. It was just such a great scene where it kind of cuts the tension for just
right.
For Paxton, I think the scene when he says this little monologue about 17 days, and she lasted more than 17 days. Well, why don't you put her in charge? And where he just legit is just freaking out because he knows it's over.
I did want to say, and I should have said this at the beginning of the show, it's okay to curse because there's some lines in here that require cursing. So if you want to go ahead and curse, we're just letting the listeners know you might hear a couple of bad words.
But yeah, so for Paxton, it's when he flips out and he's freaking out that it's 17 days and that little, because it's just it's an intimate scene for such a huge, because everything else is sort of open and they're having to, but there's that one scene where it's just very compact.
Yeah.
And then with Michael Biehn, I'd say this doesn't mean we're married or anything, or doesn't mean we're going steady or whatever, when he gives her the watch.
Right.
And that kind of, it's just a very, because there is kind of a chemistry. I won't call it a romance, although I know a lot of people say that there's a romance, a romantic through.
I got thoughts on that later.
Yeah. But I just thought that was a great little line.
Cool.
And just the look on his face when he says it, just like.
Kyle, what about you? What are some of your favorite scenes?
So this is where it gets interesting because I actually agree with something they talk about in the Alien Expanded documentary. Once they enter the hive and everything goes to hell, this movie is one big long scene. There's not a stopping point from that point on to the end of the film because it's just going and going and going. So it's like it pulls you in so much for the ride. So everything is great in that. But if I'm going to pick out some moments, I love the scene where we're on the main ship and they're eating, and you have, of course, the whole knife scene with Bishop and Hudson and everything because it just establishes something with these guys. I'm like Lacey, the Sigourney when she gets in the loader and just that moment, because I truly do believe a lot of that was ad lib. The Apone action and Michael Biehn reactions were ad libbed. I truly believe that. And of course, I think also too, when you're talking Aliens, if it were to come out even a few years ago, Get away from her, you bitch. That scene when she walks out in the loader has as big a crowd reaction as On Your Left does in the Avengers.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's a good point.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That I'm glad you mentioned that one, Kyle, because when you see her coming out in that loader is great. One of the scenes that I like too is when she's doing the load up, and taping the weapons together and making she's got all the grenades and all that kind of stuff, and she's going down the elevator. I'm also a fan of the opening scene on Nostromo, where you get to learn the cast and a little bit more about them and their personalities. And I never really thought about it, but the one offhanded comment that Frost makes when they talk about how they went to some planet with some aliens and had some sex with them, and then like, yeah, but yours was male. And then Frost goes, well, these aliens, doesn't matter if they're male or not. I'm just like, it's a very offhanded comment. It's funny. Yeah, Kyle?
One other scene too, and I think it's a real important scene, is the crash of the dropship.
Yeah,
because it really tells you how effed they are now.
Yeah,
and how and the genuine reactions. You have Hudson freaking out. You have Hicks trying to keep everybody calm down. You even have Burke like, oh, let's campfire, sing songs, whatever. Yeah. Because it's one of the few times in the whole movie that Burke shows a little sense of humanity.
Yeah, it's a good point. The other scene too that I just think is masterfully done with suspense that I absolutely love is when Newt and Ripley are inside the science lab or med lab, and the tension that you find out, especially when Ripley wakes up and seeing the specimen jar. Here's the popcorn bucket from Alien Romulus right here, tipped over, and she has to wake up Newt and saying, we're in trouble, and has to escape these facehuggers that were laid out to basically impregnate them.
Well, that scene, actually, when I went to see it at the cinema, my boyfriend at the time, Darren, I think we were like, because we were 17, we were holding hands during the movie, and he hates spiders. And all the way through, he had my hand and he went, and I'm like, let go. And it was he nearly broke my hand because he didn't mean to. And he's watching the movie and his hand's just getting like that. And I'm like, you got to let go of my hand, let go of my hand. So I always remember that.
So, yeah, Kyle?
I was just going to say, I think part of that is I truly believe the facehuggers are the scariest creature in Aliens.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's not the xenomorph. It is the facehugger.
They're just straight up creepy. Yeah, it's real. Oh.
And I think that's what was a little bit silly with the last film where you throw 1,000 of them. You only needed 2, and you didn't know where they were. And I think that sort of less is more.
All right.
And I think that's what you don't need to see 1,000 of something. Yeah. You just need 1, which is why Alien still works.
It's the Bruce theory. It's the Bruce theory from Jaws.
So one of the things, of course, I did mention this is the favorite scenes and quotes, and I got a special treat for you here, guys, regarding the quotes. Found a great article on Screen Rant of their top 10 Aliens quotes. Now, I think they did a pretty good job of grabbing the top 10, with the exception of the one at number 1, and we're going to go through this here. And this will cover a lot of the more famous ones here, but I think you said this earlier, Aaron. One of them is, of course, Apone saying, look into my eye. And then, of course, the next one at number 9 is, no, have you? When, of course, Paxton says, has anyone ever mistaken you for a man? That's at number 9. At number 8 is, all right, sweethearts, you heard the man. You know the drill. Assholes and elbows. Good old Apone. And then at number 7, we get Hudson. We're on the express elevator to hell, going down. Next, we have at number 6, also Hudson, Bill Paxton. Yo, stop your grinning and drop your linen. And next, we have Rico Ross. Love this one. What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language? And then next, we have Sigourney Weaver. And it's actually a category here on Couch Potato Theater. I say we take off, nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Of course, followed by one of my favorites by Hudson saying, fucking A. And then at number 3, we have one of the more famous Hudson ones. Game over, man. Game over. And at number 2 is Get Away From Her, You Bitch, Ripley. And Screen Rant's number 1 is at the end, Can I Dream by Newt, Carrie Henn.
What?
So I want to kind of get your, I know, I told you that. I think they missed on that one. But Lacey really wants to jump in on this. Lacey, what is your thoughts on this list and what is your favorite quote?
If you're going to quote Newt, it needs to be "They mostly come at night." Mostly. That is
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That quote.
That should have been number 1.
I know she hates it. There was a really cute little story in the documentary that was really sweet.
Everyone says that to her.
Right. Well, and her friends always use it to yeah. But I think that's the one.
What is your favorite quote?
Wow, man, I think that when Henriksen Bishop says, "I'm synthetic, I'm not stupid," is one. That's a great quote. And then the line he has in the mess hall when he says, "I prefer synthetic," or no, I prefer. I can't even remember it now. I lost it, but yeah.
I'm just gonna say mine real quick because I don't want to get trumped on it here. My favorite is another one from Hudson when they figure out that what Burke did. And he goes, "I say we grease this rat fuck son of a bitch right now," because when that happens, everyone goes, "Yes, kill this guy." Aaron, what is your favorite quote, and what do you think of this list?
I always thought the weird one when they were walking and it was really, really steamy and hot. And they say it's hot in here. And then Hudson says, "Yes, but it's a dry heat." Never made sense.
I know.
He was like, "What?" So it stuck out because that's all you ever say. And you're like, look into my eye. But when I worked at Forbidden Planet in the late 90s, the Trocadero down in the West End of London used to have an alien ride. And they used a lot of the old suits from Aliens because, it's not that far from when it was. And one of the guys who used to work there, Kevin Long, he was American. He came to work at Forbidden Planet and he actually used to do that ride. So he was very much sounded like, and looked a bit like Bill Paxton. And I remember in the middle of Christmas, and I can see it now, I was downstairs in the sort of basement where we sold ad videos at the time. And he came in going, "Game over, man, game over. They're coming out of the walls. Customers are coming out of the walls." And I remember that. And it's all I can think of. There's customers and they're everywhere. They're coming out of the walls in his little Hudson voice. It's game over, man. So, yeah, always.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on this list and what's your favorite quote?
The list is pretty solid except for the number 1. And that's just.
Yeah, it sucks.
You're going with the touchy-feely. As far as favorite quote, it's basically every line of dialogue that Bill Paxton has in this film. Sarge is gone, man! Sarge is gone! I mean...
Put her in charge!
In my mind, we talked about the whole quotable thing. It is his character is the most quotable character from any movie ever. Just line after line after line. And
they let him cook. They really did.
And I think that one of the reasons why it is like that, though, is because, let's be honest, most of us would be freaking out like Hudson was freaking out in that situation.
Yeah. He's definitely the MVP of this cast, especially with all of his lines because they're most quoted, and he has so many moments. Lacey,
I think he might be my most quoted actor, just through across all of his films. Like, I mean, the stuff from Weird Science, the Greasy Ashtray, and the from.
He's got some moments in True Lies as well.
It's Near Dark,
right?
Near Dark, yeah. I hate them when they don't shave.
Right? I mean, he has so many great characters, and he really does. I mean, even in Live, Die, Repeat, where he's got that like deep Texas draw. He's just got some great lines across all of his movies. He might
True Lies. I gotta live big.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's great. He's definitely MVP. Well, what about the rest of the cast, guys? Who else jumps out at you as some of your favorites? Who's your favorites there, Aaron?
Oh, I love Vasquez. I love Drake. I'm a bit spewing he died early.
Yeah.
Could have done a little bit longer with the Vasquez and Drake. And And again, I mean, look, they're all good. Hicks is good because he was so laid back. And we'll talk about later the difference of, the two actors that could have been Hicks. But I mean, look, I think they all work. They all work well. There's no one who is like the weak link in any of it. I mean, even Newt's okay. I've never been that much of a fan, but she's all right because it gets a little bit too kiddie for me, and that's why I hate the special edition. But the rest of it, all of them worked. And I think just all the different layers of their personalities. Everybody worked well, but then they also shine. I mean, even though Hicks started off being like this, over the top, brazen person who then freaked out, pulls it all together in the end, And the same with Gorman. I mean, even he, becomes a hero at the end. So everybody has, except for Hicks. Hicks keeps it together the whole time.
Yeah. I think Hicks is my favorite, but I got to give a shout out to Farrow, the dropship captain there. She's awesome. Kyle, what about you? Who's your favorite character?
Well, I'm a huge Hicks fan as well, and Hicks and Hudson are kind of my two favorite. But we would be remiss if we didn't mention Paul Reiser as Burke, because it is one of the greatest performances, because you want to hate him so much. And to get that kind of performance out where he talks about even his own sister didn't like him by the end of the movie.
Yeah, he like slapped him or something, like you were horrible in that movie.
So I as far as just the acting performance, it's a phenomenal performance by Paul Reiser. Henriksen as Bishop is great because he does keep you on kind of the edge of your seat. But this is Bill Paxton's and Michael Biehn's movie as far as the Colonial Marines go. Sigourney's on another level altogether. But I think if you take out Bill Paxton or Michael Biehn, this movie is totally different. And not
Lacey, what about you?
I gotta give it to the ladies, man. And especially for 1986 to have three very strong female characters. Obviously Ridley
in an action role, right?
Action role. I mean, you've got Jeanette Goldstein, and if you, a lot of people don't realize that she was the quiet little mousy Irish woman in Titanic. I mean, and if you see the videos and stuff now, I mean, she's got this long curly hair. Like, it's just. It's crazy, like the transformation she went through.
Well, Lacey, you brought up a good point here. Did we ever see a movie prior to this that showed like women in a military setup being badasses?
Well, I mean, you had the original Alien that had Sigourney Weaver as technically the final girl, but also the badass. So there was kind of
that's not Alien related.
In horror,
that's what I'm getting at.
Horror, you had the final girl, so everyone has to fight back in horror.
Right. Yeah. And so with this being a military, I don't think we had any prior to, because this is 1986, man. So, I mean, you look at, you've got, Jeanette Goldstein as the badass, like, I mean, look at the gun she's carrying. Like, that's amazing. Right. And then you've got Farrow, Colette Hillier, as Farrow. She's a pilot. She's got, like Fly the Friendly Skies on her. She's like badass. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I think that.
Definitely.
And I remember seeing that when I was like 18 or 19, and I did notice it. It's one of those things you can't help but realize that this is something you're not used to seeing.
So the next category I struggle with, guys. I want to know where you stand on this. Next category is the Ocean's 11. Do you think we need one more? Who would you add to the cast if you could back in the day? And when I look at it, I don't think you could add anyone to the Nostromo cast, anyone that actually went to LV-426. It's really tough to just replace anyone or add anyone. And I don't know how adding someone to, the beginning of the film or the special edition scenes. I mean, I had a list of all the top 1985, because this was filmed in 85, actors and who was popular, but I couldn't come up with anyone I would put in this. I wouldn't change a damn thing. Kyle, what about you?
Well, this is one of those cases we don't need one more, but I've been going over the list you have in the notes. There's maybe one or two names in there I could see maybe sneaking on as one of the Marines. Maybe a C. Thomas Howell or a Matt Dillon. But I mean, the truth of the matter is this is a perfect cast, and there's a reason why it's a perfect cast, because of, and we'll get to it when we talk about recasting and things of that nature for one place in particular. But yeah, you don't mess with this. The chemistry is so great between them. Maybe you throw in maybe like a Richard Gere as the guy as like the head of the corp at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's just nobody you need to add to this cast.
What about you, Aaron? What do you think? Would you add anyone if you could? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
And why don't? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Lacey?
I mean, no, no.
All right.
No, there's
You can't put anyone big in the front at the start
yeah.
with the talking because they were all just suits. So you couldn't put anyone famous. Otherwise, all you think about is, except for the woman smoking with the weird hair. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one we had that's casting related is the Tom Selleck was Indiana Jones segment, who almost got the role or passed on it. And they talk about this in the Aliens Expanded here, if you didn't already know. James Remar, who originally was cast as Hicks, but was replaced by Michael Biehn after his drug arrest in England. And he has quoted saying, "I was initially cast as Corporal Hicks, and I was fired after a couple of weeks of filming because I got busted for possession of drugs, and Michael Biehn replaced me." That is from James Remar. And I think in the special edition, you can actually see like him from the back in a certain scene or two.
Running in. It's the scene when they run in to the actual place.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah. Aaron, did you say there was another casting what if in this?
No.
Was or was it just James Remar?
Just James Remar.
Gotcha. Yeah. I just watched the Cotton Club for the first time because we're talking about 1984 films on the network, and he's in that. He's really good in that, by the way. But it would have been interesting. I don't know. I think it would have been a different film if we had Remar instead of
totally
Biehn.
Completely different.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned that. They actually mentioned that in the show because he's a different intensity. And if you watched one of the perfect movie, The Warriors. His Ajax is very on edge. And so he would have been him and Bill Paxton would have been that both nervous energy.
Yeah.
And I think Hicks, and it's just Michael Biehn played it in the Terminator as well. I mean, he was a little bit more edge on Terminator, but he still had that very nice personality. Like you felt he's warm. And James Remar's not warm. I don't find him warm. I've seen him in things, but he's always
his characters are always edgy. He's played a lot of good bad guys, and of course, he was great in Dexter as his father.
Yeah, but I mean,
on YouTube here, the picture I'm showing some black and white photos of him on set during his filming before he got fired. Any comments on Remar? There you go.
I just don't think he would have grounded Hicks. Michael Biehn as Hicks was an anchor. He was the anchor to hold everything together that went pear-shaped. Even with sort of Ripley, he really did not once lose his cool at all.
Kyle?
Two things. And one, I agree with everything Aaron said because I think Remar brings a totally different energy to Hicks that does not work in this film. The laid-back general coolness of Michael Biehn and also the fact that he played it just enough to where it's like, yeah, I'm in charge, but it was kind of he was like a guy who
reluctantly,
but didn't have to. But the other thing is, and I go back again to the Aliens Extended. They talk about the difference in the chemistry the minute Remar was off set because Remar was strung out of his mind while he was filming Aliens, and how much bringing in Michael Biehn, who almost got the part originally, just changed things. And Cameron even admits it's like, I learned a lesson. Even if I want to work with somebody I trust and work with somebody I know before I work with somebody who I just truly feel like I want to work with.
I'm glad you brought it up, and I know you've mentioned it too, Lacey and Aaron, that how we keep referring to the Aliens Expanded documentary and how well they've covered this film. So I'm glad you guys are mentioning that. Okay, guys, next segment we have a lot of fun with here is the fast or not so furious favorite mode of transportation. And we have some cool stuff in this one. Of course, we've got the drop ship. We got the Sulaco itself. We got the personnel carrier here, which if you see the picture, it was done from an airport vehicle that is used to tow things, basically. And of course, we have, yes, Lacey?
Sorry, I just want to say that I watched Equilibrium last night or this morning, and they reused that in Equilibrium. It's painted white.
I have to watch that. That's great.
It's crazy. I was like, what
we also have, of course, the power loaders as well. So we have some cool vehicles here, guys. Do you guys have any favorites here, Kyle?
I'm a huge fan of the APC. I love the design of it. You know, I think one of the worst missed opportunities is we didn't get to see that cannon get fired at any point in the movie.
Right.
But there's something about the loader with just the aspect of it becoming like man and machine joined together in the way it's designed. And it's a very futuristic design, but it's a practical design too. It's like, you look at it even now, it's like, I could see us creating something like that and working in the real world today. And I think that's one of the magic things about the loader, and the fact that the loader was used as the thing to give Ripley a even playing ground with the alien queen at the end. I think that's why it makes it so important and so fun.
Yeah. What about you, Aaron? You got a favorite mode of transportation here?
Isn't that, what's the one down on the bottom? Not the loader, but the one she drives. What's it called?
That is the is it armored personnel, the M577 armored personnel carrier.
Isn't that like that new Tesla car that everyone hates?
Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Much better looking than that.
Oh no, the loader. If I could, I'd be wearing it now. I thought I love that stuff. I've worked little loader things by picking it. I love it. You know that I did that like course with construction.
Yeah.
And that to me, ever since, and I don't know why, I'm pretty sure they could do that now. I think getting in there, I would be pulling her out of it and getting in myself. I think that's the thing.
Lacey,
I could just keep picking up everything. Love it.
what about you, Lacey?
It's the loader. There's this one woman at Dragon Con, and every year she comes, and she's in the loader, and she's about 8 feet tall with the contraption, and
I know which one you're talking about. I've seen
the hands are full. Everything's fully functional. I mean, it's got like the electric and the robotics, and it's got the lighting and everything like underneath, so you can see. Like, she got the spotlight. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And every year we talked. I see her and I'm like, oh, it's still amazing. And she's like, yeah, I keep thinking I'm gonna switch it up, but this is like, I love this costume so much. Yeah.
I love the loader too, APC, but my favorite is the Aliens UD4 Cheyenne dropship. Watching it on 4K, especially when you see it getting ready to land and you see the armament open up and you see the missiles, and the fact that it drops the APC too, I just think is a really, really cool looking vehicle. That's one of my favorites on there. But yeah. Okay. So we mentioned this earlier here, the Harry met Sally scene, best scene or moment between two characters. And I got to shout out the Hicks showing Ripley the gun, how they kind of have a moment, he gives her the watch. I just kind of feel this is foreplay. I mean, we sometimes have a segment, about, a sex scene in a film. Of course, there was no sex in this one, but I kind of feel if it wasn't for Alien 3, these guys would be boning later and having a family or something. I feel like they connected here. Do you guys have a moment in the film that was between two characters that you liked?
That's the one. Yeah,
that's the one.
There's a really cute picture going around from San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago where there's a little girl, she's like 6.
Yes.
And he's standing behind her and like showing her, and it's the cutest thing ever.
It is. Yeah.
I like Vasquez and Drake.
Again, good point.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. I mean,
do you think they could have hooked up, Aaron? Do you think they could?
Of course they were hooked up. Are you telling me they were partners in everything? She wore the pants in that relationship. He thought she was the greatest person ever.
Yeah.
And you see that bit where she, says to Bill
badass.
Yeah, you're bad. I mean, and she's devastated when he dies.
Yeah, that's a good.
You
point.
know that. I mean, I think that's, and then I think with Hicks and Ripley, it's another admiration more than I'm going to bone Ripley. I think it's more of someone who is equally very similar in stillness.
Yeah,
as Hicks, she's not flying off the handle and crying. She's trying to work it out, and I think he sees that in there. And again, we'll talk about later on why I like the original.
Yeah, and it's almost it's a competency. Like he trusts her, and he knows that she's going to pull through as well. Yeah.
And I think that's what Vasquez and Drake would have. It's that sort of
100%.
Yeah. It's a partnership, even though they're two different.
Yeah, he's noticed that Ripley has stepped into a leadership role, and he's not stepping on her toes, and she's not stepping on his. So yeah, Kyle, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say Kevin and Lacey's ideal Alien sequel was actually done by Hallmark, and it was the story of Henriksen Ripley after Aliens.
don't tease me. Don't tease me, man. I would watch the shit out of that. I'll tell you that right now.
It would be like the Alien Christmas Egg or something like that. A story of alien executing love.
Hallmark, are you listening? Come on, it's right there for you.
That's what we need. That's the only other thing that I'd watch for Aliens would be if they did a Christmas special.
All right, guys. We have another segment here that's fun, is the best fight scene. And I don't know if you guys have one that you thought of here, but you got to kind of go with the end here, the ending fight scene between the alien queen and Ripley in the loader. I don't know if you guys have another fight scene you want to get out. Feel free. Yes, Lacey.
I do love when at the very beginning when they're in the APC when the alien they've just been shooting it and they're running to get back into the APC and the alien head comes through. The lighting in that battle with the muzzle flash, even though they're not supposed to have guns, is really interesting the way it's lit. And I mean, as far as action, it's going to be the final battle, right? But the lighting in that scene was really interesting to me.
What about you, Kyle?
It's actually the battle where they've held up back in the residence, in the medical center and everything like that, and they've sealed everything, and yet they can't find them, and they're reading on the meter. They're in the room, man. They're in the room. And then when Hudson
You're reading it wrong.
When they just push the ceiling open and they see them all crawling up across the ceiling, is such a fabulous shot. And just, you're like, the intensity that causes, and then you're in such close quarters going on in that fight scene, and you've got Hudson. It's of course the scene where Hudson dies, but you've got Hudson. Oh, you want some? You want some too? Well, you want some, motherfucker? I mean, just he's going ballistic, but it's like he's going out as a hero, and in the style only Hudson should have gone out in. And I just think it's such a great scene there.
What about you, Aaron?
Well, I don't think it was in the quotes when Vasquez says "Let's rock."
Oh yeah.
Did they even quote that? Wasn't that in the best quotes?
No.
Really? Hello.
Yeah.
So I think I love anything that Vasquez does. Again, Drake too early. Could have just done a little bit more. But those two just letting it rock. Love. I mean, and the alien, and as they said in the Alien expansion, no CGI was ever around. And that fight with Sigourney and an alien queen was real. She fought an alien queen. Same with the face huggers. I mean, them trying to do the whole with those face huggers, and I know they filmed it backwards, grabbing on and them trying to pull it off Sigourney's face and then throwing it to them. I mean, all of them are great, but Vasquez sitting there with that great big gun with Drake going, "Let's rock."
Yeah. Lacey, did you have any other comments on your favorite fights?
I do like the scene where she's under the bed and trying to get keep the. I mean, against the face hugger.
That's face hugger. Yeah, trapping it. Yeah.
Especially because you see, and for me, because I hadn't seen Alien, right? So I don't know that. I mean, I know she's the main character, but I don't know like how dangerous her character is actually. I mean, could die, whatever. So I'm seeing like people trying to get in the room and the guns and the chairs, and that was a good suspense. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. The next topic we got going on is a fun one, especially for this movie because military experts love this movie for a particular reason, and that, of course, is you took him out with what? Favorite weapon or inanimate object used as a weapon, as Clarence Bach would say in RoboCop: guns, guns, guns. And in the special edition, you get to see the what do you call them? The
Sentry guns.
Sentry guns. Thank you. Yeah, the remote automated sentry guns. And then one of my favorites they have here is Hick's little Ithaca 37 Shorty custom thing that he likes to keep for close encounters. Great scene there. We also have, and I want to give a shout out here to Gail Ann Hurd, one of the producers. Vasquez's Smith & Wesson pistol. You get to see this being used inside when they're escaping inside the little tunnel there. But the actual close-up of the shooting was done by Gail Ann Hurd because she had weapons training, and Vasquez didn't with the pistol range, I guess. And so you get to see Gail Ann Hurd there, and there's a picture of Gail doing the scene right there, which is kind of cool. And then we get this great little scene here with Drake and Vasquez with the what do they call here? The M56 smart gun here. And then, of course, used very effectively in this is the M240 flamethrower that, of course, Ripley uses well. And then most famously, guys, is, of course, the M41A pulse rifle. Probably one of the most famous cinematic weapons of all time. Would you say, Kyle?
The pulse rifle is by far the greatest rifle in the history of science fiction. There's some other great weapons, but what makes the pulse rifle so great is it's practical in its design. It's futuristic, but still feels like it could be part of our military today, that this gun could truly exist today. And yeah, you're holding up the amazing Nerf rifle that was done a couple years back, which is a beautiful thing. But yeah, the pulse rifle is, in my opinion, the greatest rifle in science fiction history, Kevin.
It is. And yeah, Kyle mentioned this is the Nerf version here. It doesn't look like color-wise, but it's definitely works. Shoots little Nerf grenade launchers as well. I've seen people actually like weather these to look like the real ones and stuff. But let's get your thoughts on the weapons used in this movie. Aaron, what's your favorite?
So the scene where she puts the two guns together is used by the greatest invention, according to my dad, ever. Gaffer tape.
Otherwise known as duct tape here in the States.
Gaffer tape, which he had everywhere. Even when he passed away, it was one of the things I put into his coffin because he'll need it when he goes to somewhere else, because he used it for everything. And when we watched the film, he was like, see, it's in the future.
Yes.
Gaffer tape.
Right.
But no, I mean, look, Vasquez. I'm just going to go with Vasquez. If I wanted to be her, yes, I do. Everything. Look at her arms. That's what I'm going to go with.
Lacey, what's your favorite weapon used in the film?
And that's actually what I was going to say, was like literally the Marines are weapons. I mean, they are weapons. Yeah, so that was actually going to say Vasquez. Vasquez is my favorite weapon in the film.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, I think you said it best. This is one of the best weapons in cinematic history. It seems practical, and people have recreated this to actually make it work, including the smart guns.
Just a quick story about pulse rifles too, because a lot of the cast had pulse rifle props that they were left with. I was at a convention many years ago, and Lance Henriksen was there, and I think it was shortly after one of the Iraq things, and a couple of guys had just literally come back like a couple days before. They were in his line, and they were just talking to him, and because of Lance's own background in the military, he took some extra time with them, which nobody minded. He disappeared, told those guys, wait here, give me like 20 minutes. He apologized to everybody. He says, I need to go do this. He comes out, and he hands both of these guys and says, thank you for their service, and hands them pulse rifles.
Wow. He had two pulse rifles that he gave up. Wow.
Yeah. He's like, I carry these around for displays and everything like this. I know I can get at least one of these back from Jim. I want you guys to have them. Thank you for your service.
That's awesome. All right, guys, the next segment here. This is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what you guys say. This is the Sean Bean Award for Best Death Scene. Which character in Aliens do you think had the best death scene? Aaron, I'm going to start with you.
I think I need to go. You come in. I've got to come in and come out again.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, go ahead. We're having a little connection issue
I'm
there.
stuck.
Kyle, let's go with you.
This is tough because there's a couple of historic things that happen in here, but I think for a lot of people, the best death screen actually happens kind of off screen when Burke gets killed. But for me, as on just a historical preference alone, and I mentioned this when we talked about Terminator on Couch Potato Theater. Bill Paxton, the only man to be killed by an alien, a Terminator, and a Predator. And
he went out fighting. He was a scaredy cat.
He went out swinging.
Oh, you want some? Come get some.
And you know what? I honestly have to give a little credit to Gorman for going out proper after you loathed him the entire movie, and then go back to rescue Vasquez and make sure that they don't get that horrific fate.
That's a good point. Lacey, what about you? Which cast member do you think had the best death scene?
Yeah, I was going to go with Gorman and the whole I think that
Gorman and Vasquez together.
Yeah, he really. I think that he really kind of redeemed himself in that moment because he could have made it out. I mean, we know he wasn't going to make it to the final ship or whatever, but he could have kept running. He could have kept going. Gotcha. And I think that's, that says a lot. I do love Paxton in his, kind of frenzied, furious, crazy, but that was, I feel like that was kind of just the intensity of like knowing this is it and just going out with whatever you got. And there's a kind of a frenetic energy to that. I don't know how deliberate his choices were in that moment, but with Gorman, that was a deliberate choice to make sure that Vasquez did not get incubated.
Right. Kyle.
One thing about the Paxton death scene too, and again, I'm going to go back to Aliens Expanded. They talk about in that scene, they had no idea what he was actually saying. it was like because he was ad-libbing it so much, so when they had to do the reloop of it, it was like we don't know what the dialogue is. But I do have a quick question. Burke might be the most hated person in this film just because he's complete slime. But is there a point where it's kind of like, as much as you hate Burke, you can't stand Gorman either at a point in this film because you just you feel like in a way he's the one responsible for putting him in this screwed up position.
I think though with Burke, it was deliberate. He knew what he was doing. He did a thing because at the beginning, well, if you watch the expanded one, okay, the expansion, you see the extended edition, you see that the only reason that Newt's family was out past the alien mark, out past the markers, because Burke made a call to ask if there was a ship out there. Okay, so he went into that with open eyes. He knew what was going on, and he was there to save his own ass. With Gorman, I think that he just really thought that his team could do it. Like he didn't necessarily believe that there were aliens, or maybe he thought that they weren't as bad. I think that he was working off bad intel or not believing the intel he had. Because
I think he was just too inexperienced too.
Oh, absolutely. I think that his lack of experience in especially what was it? He said that he'd only had 2 drops, including this one. So yeah, I think that Burke being deliberately choosing to do bad things for money. I mean, he's the CEO. He's the guy who's like making the choices that is just killing people. He knows he's killing people. And he makes a decision that money is more important than human life.
We're trying to get Erin back on here. She's having a little connection issue. We're trying there. I go with Gorman and Vasquez. I think that because they delayed the inevitable, of course, and they went out heroes and fighting basically to the last gun and decided to sacrifice themselves to slow down the pursuit with our heroes that were still alive.
Yeah, I dig it.
I think another one of the more underscored ones is Frost's death because he took all the ammo with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You never give one guy all the ammo. You just
I know.
It's always the guy with the radio and the guy with the ammo are the two that are just disappeared first.
Yeah, they are the red shirts of military films.
I was sad to see Apone go so quickly, but I guess they had to kind of lose their leadership to kind of challenge everyone else, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was definitely.
If Apo survives and gets back with them, it takes Hicks completely out of the picture in a way.
Yeah. Well, and that does give Hicks that lovely line where he says, "I think we're gonna go ahead and take off and nuke him more of it."
Yeah, this is true.
Little, like just that hair of mocking, you know, just little delicious little line there.
All right, guys. The next thing we want to talk about is the Kenny Loggins or John Williams best use of music or song in the movie. And you got to give a shout out, of course, to James Horner here. His score in this was amazing. James Horner was given 6 weeks to score Aliens, but because filming and editing were behind schedule, he had to compose it in only 3. James Horner met Cameron earlier in their careers, and they had worked for director Roger Corman. Aliens was Horner and Cameron's first collaboration. Horner called it a nightmare. He arrived in London to compose, expecting a 6-week schedule. There was nothing for him to score, as Cameron was still filming and editing, and Horner had only 3 weeks to compose. The producers were unwilling to give him more time, and he was booked to begin scoring The Name of the Rose in '86 shortly afterwards. Horner recorded the score at Abbey Road Studios with the London Symphony Orchestra. His schedule was so tight that the music for the climactic battle scene between Ripley and the Queen was written overnight. I'll stop right there. I thought that was amazing because that's one of the most intense musical scores, and that's when it really pops for me. Of that whole ending scene with going to get Newton and escaping. And it's just amazing. I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on the music. Kyle, let's start with you.
The music is phenomenal. And the fact that he did it in such a short time is absolutely amazing because the music is what truly makes this film so intense. You know, the everything playing, and when there's the score, when they're escaping with the APC, the final fight scene with the alien queen, the music just brings this movie up a whole nother level with its intensity. And the fact that he did it so quickly is just mind-blowing to me.
What about you, Lacey?
It's interesting because the theatrical score was hacked up from the original score. Cameron didn't like it at all. And so he took bits and pieces and rearranged everything and moved it all around and all that kind of stuff. So if you get a chance to listen to the original isolated score, it's a totally different experience. Like it's
fascinating,
it's odd. Like it's kind of got like I don't even know how to describe it. Like it's just not right. I mean, I'm used to the score that, you know, we've been hearing for 20 years or whatever, but it's one of those things that if you listen to it, it's off. It's just a little bit weird. So if you get a chance, listen to that the original score as delivered by James Horner.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the next one here, guys. And Kyle, this is one of the ones that you like to. Are you sure that wasn't real? Best special effects scene here. If you want to read the related trivia, please do so, and then give your thoughts on this.
Yeah. Development of the special effects for Aliens began in May 1985 with John Richardson supervising a 40-person team at Stan Winston Studio. LA Effects Group created miniatures and optical effects. Cameron lacked contacts at the more established special effects studios and avoided using them because he believed his hands-on approach would not be welcomed. He also did not rehire many Alien crew members because he did not want to be restricted by their loyalties to the first film. Those who returned were often given a higher status, such as Crispin Salas, Alien focus puller, and Alien set decorator. Cameron had enjoyed returning artist Ron Cobb's work on Alien, and conceptual artist Sid Mead was recruited because Cameron was a fan of his work on films such as 2010, The Year We Make Contact, which came out in 1984. And that's the thing with this, and I know Aaron brought it up earlier. It's all practical effects. There is no CGI in this film, and it's one of the things that I think when we look back at some of these films, the reason why they don't age out is because they are practical effects. If you would have had CGI in this film at this time, it would have been ugly. It would have been terrible, but the xenomorphs look so fantastic. And one of the things I love when you talk about these practical effects, and I'm going to, again, go back to Aliens Expanded, they talk about the scene where the alien comes up out of the water and Newt, gets captured by the alien. And they talk about when they filmed that scene, how they tried to do everything to make her feel comfortable. And she's like, it was my buddy in the suit. I knew who it was. And it was like, no big deal. I mean, she might have been it goes back to how careful they were when you watch this expand with her psyche and trying to protect her from all these things. And she's like the most calm and collected person on set probably throughout the entire filming of this, and it's so much fun. But yeah, you even see it when you go to Alien 3 and you go to especially Alien Resurrection. The effects do not hold up. And you look at this because it's practical and because it's Stan Winston, who is a god. And you can give him all the praise you want. He's still underappreciated. Stan Winston is one of the greatest special effects people of all time. And thank God he worked with Jim Cameron, because talk about a perfect pairing.
Lacey, by the way, real quick, if you're watching this on YouTube, we got some funny behind the scenes pictures of Sigourney hamming it up with the alien queen big puppet there, which is kind of funny. Lacey, give me your thoughts on the special effects here.
The special effects were so well done that the producers didn't even, like, the suits didn't, like, they complained after the first sets of dailies that they had gone through, saying, like, we gave you all this money. And this is straight from the documentary. And Gail Ann Hurd was like, what are you talking about? Let me just show you this. So she actually said, with the force perspective, everyone talks about Lord of the Rings and all the force perspectives for the different heights and all this kind of stuff. The miniatures and the force perspective that Cameron used for so many of the sets was groundbreaking at the time. I mean, that's it's crazy. It's amazing.
Aaron, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I just can't. It won't let me put the camera. Who knows? I'm in the future.
Don't worry about the video. Oh, we lost her again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're having some connection issues with Erin there. She's in Australia right now. We'll try again. This, as Erin mentioned earlier, the practical effects on this was just amazing, and it was so effective with the music. And of course, the wonderful puppetry that they used here. It's very menacing when you see this. And the scene too, when you see the alien xenomorphs above them in the right above the rafters in the ceiling, and they're all kind of crawling forward and stuff like that. Just amazing. Yeah. So, all right, let's get into the Star Wars Twin Suns favorite filming location or set piece, guys. And I got some slides here of some really cool locations on the sets. I want to kind of get your guys' favorite set piece or filming location. Let's start with you, Kyle.
Everything down on the planet is so well done. The medical bay and how they have everything set up with the canisters and everything like that. But when you go down into that hive, and how you see the environment change from very industrial to almost like a living environment is so amazing. And it's so beautiful. And you're watching this for the first time, or even, and you see it happening and you're like, I ain't going down there. The freaking walls are alive. If I'm looking around and going that, and it's so well done. And that's one of the things that makes this beautiful, because you look back onto the ship, and how everything is clean and everything there, and then you go down to Hadley's Hope, where it's dirty, it's been through hell, and then you get into the aliens aspect of it, and it's just like, what the hell? You've gone into like a 7th level of hell, and it's so well done across the board. And again, this is the magic of this movie. There's not a bad set location here. They're all freaking amazing.
Lacey, what about you? What's your favorite set piece or filming location?
It's interesting. You've got the on the photos that we got going on. Nope, go back. There you go. The one that's kind of in the center. It's the top left of the little 4 square that you've got going on there, where the
right
are. Okay, the opening piece of that scene. Look, she's moving. She's here. Yay!
Yeah, I know.
But
Don't put through Yahoo.
The opening sequence for that scene, where it actually pans from one room past like the med lab and past the kind of some, you see like the little flippy things, the little the little centrifugal force toys and all that kind of stuff. It's so clean and it's so pristine, and that it's about to just go wrong. That everything's about to go wrong. So just the fact that one couple of like kind of pan shots before they open everything up, and seeing how everything's so like pristine, and knowing what they're about to get into is
Aaron, now that we got you here, we're talking about our favorite set piece or filming location. Which one's your favorite in Aliens?
Oh, the hive.
Yeah,
in there,
that's what Kyle said.
and that gooey, sticky stuff. The bit where she goes in and grabs Newt, or Newt pulls that aside, and there's that. Yeah. I've always wanted to play with it, and I don't know what it is.
But when you see all the eggs everywhere, that is, the eggs everywhere is great too. You touched on it, Lacey. In the special edition, they have this expanded shot of where they show the armory, and they slowly then show the bay. Then they show the sleeping pods, all that kind of stuff, and you really get to see what inside the Nostromo, or not Nostromo, the Sulaco looks like, and it's a gorgeous set, and you get to then see them interact as well. But the alien hive scene is definitely quite amazing there. So yeah. All right, guys, here's a fun one here, and it's kind of weird because of our cast and what they do. So it's, if you were a non-speaking extra on set, what scene do you want to be in? And I have a couple nominations here because it's hard to say that you would just be a rando, Space Marine, because they're all accounted for. So maybe you would be in the conference room in the beginning, or in the special edition, you would be in Hadley Hope's extra. Or Kyle, I think you brought this up. You would just be a rando. What would you call it?
Rando hived. Cocooned.
A cocooned colony member.
Yeah.
So Kyle, where would you like to be a non-speaking extra on this film?
Put me in the cocoon. Why not? I mean,
there's Kyle's face.
Yeah. Just make it to where either I've already busted out, or I'm taken up in the flamethrower flame. Just don't make it live action me getting busted open. That's all I ask.
Aaron, where would you like to be a non-speaking extra on the set?
Well, totally being cocoon, but I missed something, and I sort of heard about deaths. I suppose everyone talks about Burke's death.
Well, we can talk. We can actually have you chime in on that. We had which cast member do you think had the best death scene?
Well, it depends on which. Oh, that one. Well, you don't see Burke die, but then, of course, did we talk about the deleted scene?
No, but yeah, we have not talked about it, but they do show him a deleted scene being cocooned.
Yeah, because and they did that with Tom Skerritt in the original. That's how it worked out. They was cocooned. So I could be next to Burke while being cocooned in the scene that was never put in except for the expenses.
I can see you doing this going, no, don't help him. Don't help him.
Don't help him. You're a fucking asshole.
I always thought I thought it would be kind of fun to be like one of those heavily smoking extras, like in the because you can just see the smoking layer, the smoke layer hovering above the conference scene in the beginning, or one of the rando Hadley Hope's colonists out there. I could be this kid on the bike here because I would have been around the age maybe. So yeah, that would be a fun one to do. So. Well, speaking of, I have a new segment for you guys. I did kind of borrow. Oh, Lacey, you didn't tell me. I'm sorry.
No,
I almost went over.
Okay, because I would rather be a PA on that set than be in any of those scenes. I do not want to be.
You want to be a personal assistant, not actually in the movie?
I would rather be on set as a PA, or I was a script supervisor for a while. I don't know. I'm sure he has his own guy, but I would rather be craft services.
Okay.
than be in.
Well, that's not the challenge of the question, but okay.
Well, think about all of the on set for this, the amount of they have two different types of steam machines to get ambiance, right? And back then they used a mineral spirits base, so not a good place to be as an extra. Just saying.
So cocooned, mummified former colonist. Okay, all right.
No, thank you.
All right. So I'm springing on a new category here for you guys. I thought this would be kind of fun. I kind of borrowed it from another podcast. This is the new category, the Vanilla Ice Cool as Ice Award for the most dated thing or person in this movie. Now, I found this kind of a challenge because watching this film, it doesn't seem too dated, but there's one person in this movie that's totally dated. And you brought up her name or this person earlier, Aaron. This is the redheaded woman who is part of the CEA rep, actress Valerie Colgan, just chain smoking away in the future. Everyone's still smoking. This felt very, very dated to me. She still cracks me up. She's just smoking. You can see the layer of smoke in there. So this is my pick for the Vanilla Ice, Cool as Ice, most dated thing in this movie. Anyone else have a mention, Lacey?
Mine would be similar, but all of the Marines were able to personalize their outfits, and that is not a thing that happens after like Vietnam. Like after Vietnam, like you don't, even if you're in combat, you don't like. There's just you don't have.
I'm gonna push back on that. That's not necessarily true.
And Apone with his cigar, that's kind of another thing. Like you wouldn't see them in the field with a cigar. Like that just seems.
I've seen and heard. I have seen and heard of military people doing customizations and putting stuff on their things, and whether it's Punisher symbols and stuff like that. I've seen that.
But I think that does, it feels dated to me.
Gotcha. All right. Anyone else?
Burke.
Dated?
Burke
is dated.
Burke is
How is
dated.
Burke? How is Burke dated?
Yeah, his hair gets bigger. It's so blow waved. He just looks very 80s. He looks where the Marines look very art, like they're just generic. But Burke, look, I know he's the odd one out, but he still looks. I don't know if it's the blow wave, like his hair's all sort of blow wave.
There's a hairstyle in the scene where she's having the nightmare, and one of the white Caucasian doctor comes up to her, and he's got that 80s like part in the middle of his hair. That one's dated.
I think the idea with Burke is he's supposed to be a little bit dated. He's supposed to remind us of that 80s sleaze businessman. And
yeah,
I think
Green is good.
And that's why he feels dated. And like even when they go up on the planet, everybody else is in some kind of military fatigue, even Ripley. And here he is, and like he's going camping.
Yeah.
What's he his life?
Lacey?
I'll also say the doll head that she has, it has like actual eyeballs still, right? And that's something.
Oh yeah,
they stopped doing that.
The creepy rolling eyes.
Eyes in it, and that's very dated.
That's a nice call out. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. The next category we have is specifically tailored to this movie here. And this is the theatrical cut versus the special edition. Which do you prefer and why? Aaron, I'm going to let you go first and cook because I know how you feel about this and you make a strong case. Why do you prefer one over the other?
Pacing.
You prefer the theatrical cut over the special edition?
Oh, yes. So yes. Pacing, I don't think the special edition starts going long. Backstory, don't care. I don't care she had a daughter. I don't care if we have to know that his name is Dwayne. I don't care. I don't need backstories. I just think that, look, I'll give it to the only thing about the special edition that ticked off something for me about her talking about LV-426, and obviously the whole 20 years that they hadn't been on there, they hadn't gone to the other side of it, which was really weird. Why have they only stayed on one side of that planet?
Right.
Then Burke sends Newt's family there, and then suddenly after 5 seconds he turns up and says, we've lost contact. So it wasn't until she told them that something happened somewhere on that planet, even though they'd been there for years, made more sense on why that scene led into Burke turning up 2 seconds later saying they've lost contact. It's because he sent that there. That's the only thing I like. Don't care about the guns. don't care about finding out anything. It just was too long, and I didn't like the layers it added to Ripley and Hicks at all. And I didn't care that she had a daughter because I never thought that she would.
Gotcha.
Because in the first movie, she seemed this was her job, and that's what she did. And I feel that if she would have, why would she have left her daughter for so long if she had a daughter? Because obviously going out to space isn't going around the corner in 5 minutes. So that adding to, I've left my daughter. I feel sad I didn't see her when she died.
She made a comment wanting to be back by her birthday. So yeah.
No.
All right.
No.
All right. Kyle, what do you prefer, the theatrical cut or the special edition, and why?
I think I'm more of a fan of the theatrical cut. The special edition does add some things, and I know some people argue about and even Sigourney herself was very upset about the whole opening being cut out.
That was in the Aliens Expanded. She talks about that.
Yeah.
She was actually kind of upset about it at first.
Yeah, she was pretty upset with Cameron. They got over it because that's just kind of the relationship she says they have. But in truth, I do think it does affect the pacing of the movie. I actually watched the special edition before we did this podcast. I mean, it adds almost a full half an hour to the film, and I think it does slow down the film a little bit. Truthfully, if I was going to take any one scene that I felt like actually works in the special edition, it's the sentry gun scene, because I think that really establishes something with the aliens, and just how they're just swarming and keeping coming.
Interesting.
But otherwise, I think it's the motherly subplot is there for the touchy-feely aspect of it. You don't really need it because I think it's established with Ripley and Newt in the film, and it's good just that way. You don't need to further expand on it. But like I said, I can understand why people do appreciate it as well.
Lacey, what say you? What do you prefer? Which one do you prefer and why?
I've watched both of them in the last week. I will say I don't. If it was on, I would. It's kind of a couch potato thing. If it's on, whether either one, I'm gonna continue watching it. Right? If I'm flipping channels, whether it's one or the other, I'll watch it. I think that Aaron is very spot on when it comes to Burke and his involvement in the additional features. I think that that one line where they're like there's two dudes walking through a hallway, and he's like, they're on the line asking about whatever, why did he send us out there in the first place? Like, that he, like, it gives Burke more of an intentional bad guy, right? Now you know exactly what he did. I think that the daughter stuff just kind of softens her, and I don't think she needs to be softened. I think that as a woman in this character, like, she's already this badass bitch, and that's amazing, and I love her for that, and that's like the character that I want to see. I don't need her to be rounded and softened on the edges. That's why I don't think that they needed any sort of love scene. That's why I love the fact that he was like, it doesn't mean they were dating or anything, whatever. That's great. I dig that. That's awesome. I don't need her to have a love story. I don't need her to have a kid. I need her to go into space, beat the aliens, kill everybody, say, I told you so, you assholes, and then get home safe. That's all I need from her. But again, there's some interesting little nuggets, but I think overall, if I was going to choose one, it'd be the theatrical cut.
Gotcha. Guys make great cases. It's funny. I've kind of gone back and forth. I for the longest time, I've always preferred the special edition because I do like the backstory of and the emotion that you get from Ripley about learning about her daughter. And the Burke scenes are good too. The scene that I really like too is I like seeing the colonists, the shake and bake people. I like seeing what life was like when it was normal before it went to shit. And how they're just kind of out there doing their thing, and how there's like you come out there and you're building this colony, but also whatever you find, you keep. I find fascinating, and the dichotomy that did as well, and the don't ask thing is kind of interesting as well. But the one thing that regarding the special edition that you guys are all right on is it does make it go too long. And as the more I watch it, I'm more sensitive about that. And so like, I'm fine with I'm fine with both of them. And I think what you said, Lacey, is if one's on, I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah.
Knowing that I can watch the theatrical version and still know what happens, it still fills it in for me and it's fine. But if there was only one and only one existed, the theatrical, I would still be fine with that as well, because I do like the running time on it. It gets right into it. You know, when I rewatched it, the whole thing with Dwayne and them sharing their first name, that was a little cheesy. I'm kind of glad they cut that part out, but I like them both for different reasons. But you guys have definitely made good cases for it. So yeah. Okay, guys, what happens next? This is when we talk about the the sequels. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. Of course, we start with Alien, and I just want to clarify too, we're not talking about the Alien versus Predator franchise. We're just talking about the Alien films here, and I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on it. We have Alien, obviously, Aliens, and then was it 92? We have Alien 3. And then we have Alien Resurrection in 97. And then we jump all the way to 2012, where we have Prometheus, followed by Alien Covenant. And just as this year, we had Alien Romulus, which took place between Alien and Aliens. And then, as you mentioned earlier in the show, Kyle, this summer on Hulu, we have the Alien Earth TV series coming. But I want to get your guys' thoughts here of how you feel about the other films in this franchise after Alien and Aliens. Because I think most fans would agree that's a great double feature. They both are good movies. They're both revered for separate reasons. Aaron, I'm going to start with you.
All right, so we saw Alien and Aliens recently, which was a 4K version at the Lido. Alien, he wins hands down for visual, because there's not a scene that Ridley Scott does where you go, I can see a blue screen or a this and that, where what you said, Kyle, with Aliens, with the 4K, it does lose it in some scenes where the 4K brings out its weakness in a couple of scenes, where if you've got a Ridley Scott movie, it doesn't. So I'm going to go with that. Alien 3, bad CGI, horrible CGI. I don't mind it, but I just hate the CGI. Alien 4, Michael Wincott died way too early. Don't kill off one of your greatest characters. And The Newborn was one of the grossest things I've ever seen. And I didn't like Winona Ryder. Don't have a famous person as one of the, robots. But I did like the rest of it. And I thought Sigourney was excellent. So there's a love-hate with Alien Resurrection. Prometheus, I've seen a fan edit on that I downloaded that someone made, which made the film way better and added all those.
It put it in a particular order, because I've seen that one.
It did, and it brought all those scenes they put up with. Why did Guy Pearce be a young guy in some things, and then why he's coming in old? And it was one of these things that Ridley Scott, you meant to see this on the internet and it's not in the movie. And this guy put it into the movie, so they made it more linear. Alien Covenant, the only good thing was the poster and nothing else. Alien Romulus, I slept, and the end. There you go.
All right. Kyle, what are your thoughts on the Alien franchise and the sequels?
Kevin, have the hot take button ready.
Do you want to save it for the nuke it from orbit, or
no? I'll say it now because no film destroyed a franchise more than Alien 3.
I'll challenge that.
You're about to bring out Indiana Jones 4, aren't you?
Yeah. Indiana 4.
No, that's what I was going to say. But Kyle, continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
And the reason why was because I am actually a fan of the Alien 3 director's cut. I think the characters, how they portray the characters in that compared to the original cut is really well done. But the problem is this, and it's irredeemable, is David Fincher decided he needed to make his mark on Alien and tell his story. And you took the heart of everything that Ellen Ripley went through in Aliens and destroyed it off screen within the first 3 minutes of your film. And you just, in that process, you alienate all the fans of the franchise. And in doing so, you anger everybody, and you almost get it to a point to where it's almost irredeemable what he's done. The fact that we get Resurrection, and Resurrection is a hot mess in its own right between the writing issues, Josh Whedon's tie-ins with everything like that. Alien 3 and Resurrection both suffer from horrendous CGI. Prometheus, which I think is actually a solid film, it adds a lot of interesting concepts to the alien mythos. I'm with Aaron. Great poster for Alien Covenant. Horrible film. I think Romulus is interesting because he decided to go back, and I think there's some interesting concepts within Romulus. And I'm really excited for Alien Earth because, again, that's even going back to a few years before Romulus, and also it's going to have Timothy Olyphant in it. So I mean, how can you go wrong with that? And I trust in FX. FX has done amazing things with some pretty interesting franchises. The Alien franchise could have been and should have been so much more. And because of the decision of one film, it took it completely off the rails. And I don't think it's ever fully recovered from the decision David Fincher made to kill Hicks and Newt at the beginning of Alien 3. Because
Kyle, I think we should
the franchise.
Kyle, we should mention too that in the Aliens Expanded documentary, James Cameron himself did not like that as well.
Kevin, real quick, check your audio, your mic.
I can hear him.
Can you hear me, Kyle? Yeah.
You became real echoey there for a second.
Oh, sorry about that. Did you? I don't know if you heard what I said, but I said that even James Cameron said in the Aliens Expanded that he hated that decision of what Fincher did, killing off those characters.
He said he understood it, and there was the symmetry of it of certain things, but yeah, he was not a fan.
What about you, Lacey? Have you seen all these films? What's your take on the sequels?
So I saw Alien 3 at some point. Again, Alien 3 made aliens completely irrelevant. I mean, it just killed it in the first 3 minutes. The next one was Resurrection. I think I saw it because I saw Winona Ryder in one of them. It completely unmemorable. But again, keep in mind, you guys, I'm not a horror person. So the ones that kind of went darker, that's not my flavor. That's not my taste. So Prometheus I saw, and it was so long and it was so quiet and just like I dozed off a little bit. And I love all the actors and I just don't know. And then I
watch the fan edit. It's way better. Watch the fan edit was way better.
I don't even think I'm going to bother doing that. Like, and then with Covenant, I didn't bother to see it. And then Romulus is the one that is supposed to happen between Alien and Aliens, right?
Yeah,
correct.
Didn't see it. I got the popcorn bucket though. That's cool.
Yes.
The problem with Romulus, and it's just with the director. It was Evil Dead remake. He makes a great film. Mm-hmm. He's just not. His characters are never likable, and that makes it hard when no character that you like in it. And it's funny because if you watch Romulus, all those actors, and for some reason I don't know how two of the actors got an Ali G London accent if you were living nowhere in London at the time to get one. So that throws me. Is that they're probably the same age as what the cast of Aliens was. Yet they seem younger. And I don't know if it's because I'm older and now everyone seems younger, even though they would have all been the same age. What would they have been in their 20s?
Yeah.
Easily 20s, early 30s. That's what the Romulus guys are. But they look like they're 14 and they act like they're 14. And it's a weird thing of, I think we just fell in love with such characters. Even Burke, who is the evil guy, you still sort of like him in a sense, where there were no likable characters and in Romulus at all. One of them, because I couldn't understand two of them at all because they were just talking like Ali G. And the others, I'm like, I don't care if you die. I don't care if you die. And at least with Alien 3, as much as it did kill everything, there are a couple. You still had Charles Dance. You still had Sigourney Weaver.
Charles Dutton was great in it.
You still have some ones that are really good in it. And then again, with Alien Resurrection, half of it was like, oh my God, why did you do that? But then there's also, oh my God, that's amazing. So this whole Alien Resurrection, God does this weird, oh, you're so, oh my God. Oh, I actually really enjoyed that. So it's a weird thing, Alien Resurrection, because Sigourney's really good at it.
So for me, obviously the Alien and Aliens double feature is iconic for me, and I wish I never got rid of it, but I had a VHS tape where I recorded Alien, and then when you see her ship floating in space after she escapes and she puts herself in hypersleep, before the credits start, you can pause it there, and then the beginning of Aliens, right where it says directed by James Cameron and his name fades away, you can start recording Aliens, and it's this perfect 4-hour long movie of just nothing but aliens. And I wish I wouldn't gotten rid of that. I wish someone would do a digital fan edit that way and just make it all the way through and put all the credits for both films at the end. I would love that. So I got to kind of relive that when you and I saw the double feature together, Aaron. I thought that was great. For the longest time, before a certain movie came out in the last 10 years, when we would always talk about the worst sequels of all time, sequels that just, should never have been made, that just really didn't pay attention to what was important to its previous films. Alien 3 was in my opinion, the worst sequel of all time. And, and I've seen a lot of really bad wannabe sequels where they would have a sequel in name only and no one from the original cast returns. I don't count that type of thing. Whatever David Fincher thought he was doing, he just did not do it right. And I still kind of resent that attempt at that film. And I've seen the director's cut. It doesn't matter. When you kill off two important characters just to kind of do your own thing and have her shave her head, make more money, and be on a prison planet, sorry, it doesn't do it for me. And it's a tough watch for me. And it was the worst sequel until Star Wars: The Last Jedi came out. That really devastated a film franchise in my mind, and also one of the biggest lost opportunities. Can you imagine if he had kept those characters alive in that film? What more interesting film that would have been. Now, when it comes to Resurrection, I'm actually a fan of this film. I love the cast in this. Like Aaron says, Wincott is great in that. Died too soon, but what I like about it, to me, it kind of feels like because they used the whole DNA thing to basically bring Ripley's character back alive. It feels like it could be in an alternate timeline, and there's moments in it that I like, and I think that Sigourney was great in it. Prometheus, for me, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the look. It's also great in 3D. The fan edit, as Aaron said, is fantastic. If you can find that, definitely watch that. But I liked where it was going because you had Ridley back. He's like, okay, I'm going to get back in the Alien universe. But then Alien Covenant comes out. Completely agree. The only good thing about that was the paper that the poster was printed on. He just went off the rails on this damn franchise and decided let's talk about David. Let's talk about fucking David. Fuck you, David. I did not want a movie about David. I wanted a movie about aliens, people dealing with the backstory of that. This was when I was like, let's take the franchise back away from him, and Blomkamp should have. Yeah, old man Ridley. Get off my lawn, Ridley. He should not have done the direction that he did with that film. I resent him for that, and I resent him for helping shut down the Blomkamp film with that, because I really thought that could have been done. And I did enjoy Alien Romulus. I did have some issues with it, but I love the overall look of it. The look for me kind of took the only thing I could not stand in that fucking movie was them using the "get away from her, you bitch" line. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Kind of curious where Alien Earth is going to go. Trying to squeeze in all of this kind of prequel-y stuff with stuff that's already set is kind of, I don't know. I'm a little apprehensive, but I do like the cast that we have. Lacey, did you want to say something? You had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I don't even know who David is.
David Fincher?
Michael Fassbender.
Okay.
David Fassbender was the clone character.
He was one of the first robots.
David was Michael Fassbender's character?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes. Didn't even remember that. Sorry. Yeah.
Kyle?
I want to throw a theory out there to you, Kevin, because you talked about all the prequel-y stuff that's coming out right now. Could it be the reason why we're getting some of this is there is somebody planning on, and there's been some rumors of this floating around, nothing confirmed, making a new Alien film that basically wipes 3 out of canon. Could somebody still be trying to do that? And that's why we're getting prequel stuff.
No, they're just cashing in on the Alien franchise.
The problem is the cat's out of the bag. This is what's happening with A Quiet Place. And I didn't mind A Quiet Place 3. But we know that they can't make a sound and there's monsters. So we know what's happened. So with Alien, we never saw the chest burster for the first time. And these was all new. Aliens added more of it, where you got bigger and better. And then they should have ended it like Terminator, except don't make Terminator 2. That's it. So if you could make the best Alien film ever, and it's not going to be how it was, because we all know if there's nothing to add to it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Aaron, because the one thing that fans wanted for the longest time is, stop going backwards and giving us these films in between already stuff. Why don't we? Everyone obviously wanted the Alien versus Predator thing, and I get it. I almost want to see in the future.
Did we?
Yeah, because of the popular comic book series. They wanted to, and plus because of Predator 2, that kind of set the seed for everything. But I wanted something a little bit further in the future where the aliens do come to Earth and you have a new set of space marines and it's gritty and it's a full-on freaking war. This was like the start of the war. Or the only other thing that might work is going back and finding out where the aliens actually came from that maybe make a little more sense than David.
Prometheus was meant to be, and then they ended up in the Isle of Skye, which was good because we ended up visiting it. But then it was a drop of something. I mean, that was the whole thing, was when we watched Alien and they go to LV-426 and there's the jockey in the seat that isn't the alien. He just happens to be there and an alien's come through him. Mm-hmm. So, and we're going on the theory that whatever the alien comes through, that's the DNA it takes over. So in Alien, it becomes a man because it's gone through a man. In Aliens, it doesn't have to go through anything because it's in its organic original self. We're assuming if it hasn't gone through any other DNA. And then Alien 3 is a dog, and then it becomes the dog thing. So, but they tried to do that with Prometheus, and then he still went off the rails, and I still don't confused on why.
Kyle, show us what you got there.
So what I have right here is Marvel Comics acquired the rights to all the old Alien comics from Dark Horse, and they have re-released them. And this is Aliens, the original years. This was the first miniseries to come out from Dark Horse with Aliens. This is an alien story where Hicks and Newt are alive. It's in the future. The xenomorphs turn up again. You can find this. It's a quite thick collection. It's about a $40.
I would have watched the shit out of that movie if that actually was made. God,
it's about a $40 trade paperback, but you can find it on sale a lot of places. If you really want to, what should have been the true Alien sequel, this right here.
Can you do a spoiler alert? Does Ripley and Hicks get together?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm in the process. I just got this. So I'm in the process of rereading this because it's been a while. I think they did. I think at least at one point. Now that whether or not it lasted long, but you have an adult Newt in here. You have an older Hicks. So yeah.
Okay.
Pick up this graphic novel if you want some true Alien sequel.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into our hot take here. And this has been an ongoing topic here. This is the Aliens Nuke It from Orbit hot take, and here we are talking about aliens. I'm going to go first here. I'm just going to say I've kind of touched on this, and we've kind of touched on this. I think Aliens is the best sequel of all time. Yes, but better than Empire Strikes Back in my mind. Better than was it Godfather 2? I think it's the best, and because it pays tribute to
Road Warrior. Really?
Yes, better than Road Warrior. Yes, better than this is my turn. It's the best one. It's also, in my opinion, the most quoted movie of all time, thanks to Hicks. But so many people thanks to Hudson. So many people have other great lines in it, and I look at other movies that we quote from, And you could probably choose like, maybe Princess Bride as well is another quoted one. You can also choose Tombstone, a bunch of other ones, but this one I think is the most quoted movie of all time. And when you look back on when it was made, probably one of the most not dated films. We did pick a few things, but it's like I feel like this movie is just going to feel the same in the next 50 years. Anyone else have a hot take from this? Kyle.
Not only is it the greatest sequel of all time, it might be the most rewatchable movie of all time.
One of the best action movies of all time.
Yeah. This is one of those movies, no matter where you jump into it, you're watching it and you know exactly where you're at. You know the lines that are coming, every moment beat for beat. And it's one of those movies too, where I think you can bring somebody who hasn't seen it all the way in up to it at almost any time and kind of give a brief explanation of what's going on, and they would still enjoy it. Now, obviously, if they're dropping in the last 15 minutes of the movie, that's a little tough. But there's just something about this movie that I think is just so incredibly rewatchable, even if it's on cable cut or something like that. That even in a way Star Wars doesn't have, because the one thing about this movie is too, there's no slow moment. The slow moments are done within the first 15 minutes of this movie, and then the ride starts and you are on it. And I think most of the other movies we consider highly rewatchable all have those moments in the middle where it just really dies down. It's like to get you ready for the next big finale scene or whatever. But there's no slowdown. The stakes are high from the minute they land on the planet to the minute they nuke it from orbit.
This movie's been in my top 5 for like the last 25, 30 years, continuously. So, Lacey, what about you? What's your hot take of Aliens?
I'm gonna mirror what Aaron said about Terminator and just say that for me it's Aliens. There's nothing before it. There's nothing after it. This is the movie. This is the one I enjoy. I don't need any extra little bits and bobs. I don't even need the special edition. Like I said, I don't need her to be fluffy and rounded and softened. So
it's a standalone film for you.
For me, that's it. Like, this is the movie. Then we're good. I don't need it now. You say Timothy Oliphant, that's gonna pull me into Alien Earth. I think is what it is.
Aaron's nodding her head too, like
I'm sitting there right with you, Lois, right there.
To quote Kevin Smith, we could listen to Timothy Oliphant read a phone book.
Absolutely.
Or as I say about Taylor Sheridan, but I'd say it in a different way. I watch anything that Taylor Sheridan's taken up on.
But yeah, so I think it's a one and done, and that's awesome. And I don't need more until you put Timothy Oliphant in it.
Aaron, do you have a hot take about Aliens?
I love Aliens. Funny enough, watching Alien, I think, is the better film. I'll be the wrong person about that, but I just think I love Aliens for the cast and some of the set pieces. I think it falters getting a little older. There's some things that are just not gelling. So I think Alien works a bit better. And again, I think it's a great sequel, but I like to stop it after Aliens. That's it. I'm done. She got out. She might have gotten a guy. She might have had a thing. This was her payback for all the crap she went through for the first 2 movies. And that's it. Done. I didn't need to see what they did more.
That's a great point, Aaron, because like I said, when I can just watch these 2 and be done as well. But I'll watch Alien Resurrection because it feels like it could be in an alternate timeline, because it's not Ripley. It's a clone of Ripley that you see come alive and see all the other.
Oh yeah. That's
but, different. And I'll watch it because there's some great characters in that. It's to me, it's because of what Alien 3 tried to do. I could be done right after this.
I'm like that with Star Wars, so I don't need anything after Empire Strikes Back. The end. I'm done. I don't like the second one, the third one, because it gets too kiddie. So, and again, it's like Mad Max and Mad Max 2. So Mad Max was the quiet one, and then Mad Max 2 is Aliens. It's you didn't add to it. It just got bigger and it had more things and it was fun. Again, you lock that off. So then that's it for me. I don't need to see the rest of the Mad Maxes, and then it just got stupid.
You kind of pushed back when I said that my hot take was Aliens was the best sequel of all time. Is Mad Max 2 yours?
For the film it's going against, probably because Alien is an amazing film, and Aliens just embellished it. Where I think Mad Max was, I love Mad Max, but not everyone thinks it's great. For a sequel that you had to go off that film, and so you've gone from a great film into a great film. Things, do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Mad Max has gone that, and then you come in not changing or adding. You didn't give Mad Max a backstory at all. You just made him even madder and bigger and better, and that was it. So I think because, and again, Star Wars and then Empire. I like Empire because it's dark. Didn't like it as a child. Hated it as a child because it was sad, and Harrison Ford got put into something, and that was sad. But as an adult, I see it as a better movie than Star Wars. So, yeah. So I think that, I love Aliens. It's just, it's an embellishment on Alien.
Gotcha. All right. Lacey, did you have something you want to add to?
Yeah, I was going to tack on to that and say that I think that the reason Aliens works kind of as an all-encompassing thing is you get the backstory you need as far as like the fact that she was rescued, she was, the salvage team and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about the additional backstory. That movie, it gives her the quest. The quest is to face her fear, to get over the nightmares, and also rescue the one, because the whole idea is if she can rescue just one of those colonists, then it's worth going.
She couldn't do it with her original crew.
Right, no. Of course. And so I think that one, that's why it's kind of like a one and done for me, is because she starts off with a goal, she hits that goal, she gets the revenge that she needs, she gets the, she doesn't have the nightmares anymore, and she's fine, because she says, can I dream? And she says yes. Like that is her saying that she's going to be able to dream and not have those nightmares as well. You
got to remember in original Aliens, if you go into the special editions where there's scenes that are missing, she comes across Dallas. Now Dallas, you never know if he dies. He just disappears when he's in the vents. If you've not seen Alien, that's what he does. And he's the he's the big one. He's the main guy. He's the Hicks. What? Yeah, he's the big one. So he's the Hicks of, in a sense, Alien. He's very laid back. But she finds him on the way of trying to escape getting out, and he's cocooned. And that's how the idea of it becoming an insect, in a sense, those theories come in, is that he's cocooned, but they took it out because they didn't want that originally. They didn't want that feel that it came from something else. It was just, it is a being. So then that's why she goes back for Newt, and she leaves Burke, and they didn't want that to happen. Why they cut the Burke scene out is because why would she leave people twice? Even though Burke was an arsehole, she leaves him there to die. And they went, I didn't want to make Ripley.
She gives him the grenade to kill himself because he's already been impregnated.
Right. Yeah. But she leaves him. She doesn't, but she doesn't go to save him in the sense.
But now the question is, because I could have sworn they mentioned this in the documentary, the original plan for Dallas in Alien was he was actually going to morph into an egg.
Oh, yeah, I saw that piece of
Yeah, he's cocooned. He's up with what's his name? The guy from the start, Harry Dean Stanton. He's up there with him. They all disappear. The only ones that you actually sort of see die is the black guy. What's his name? Yaphet
Kotto.
Yeah. And the other scene, and the girl, which, this was the rest of them you don't see. You just see them taken away. So they're cocooned, but then they took it out because they didn't want this feeling of it being something that it wasn't. And then it became that anyway, as the hive and the queen and the bees and all that sort of stuff.
All right, guys. This has been awesome. Let's get your final thoughts here, not just on Aliens 1986, but also Aliens Expanded 2024. We've all seen it, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and start with you there, Lacey, since you're holding them both up there. Give me your final thoughts on both.
I very much enjoy Aliens. I think it is what we like to call close to a perfect film. It's still not in my favorites because I'm going to go towards the comedies and the action, like just the straight action, not the scary action. But absolutely rewatchable. If there's a bunch of people who want to talk about it, I'm going to watch it again, and that's fine. Aliens Expanded. I love a good documentary. I don't want to do like sad documentaries about horrible things that are happening in the world. I want to see documentaries about movies. This is what I want to see. This is like my favorite happy place. When I would matter if I'd probably be more likely to watch this just on like a random Sunday afternoon while I'm, doing laundry or something than I would be watching the actual film. Like, I loved this. This is really, really interesting. And I will continue to follow these guys and pick up everything else that they do because they seem to have really kind of dug down, and they like all the same movies I like. So, and now that I just found out, because I didn't know they did one on The Thing, so I'm actually going to have to go back and find that one because that's, again, science movie with a few scares, right? So
that is the perfect movie.
Do what?
That is the perfect movie.
The Thing.
Nice.
Aaron and I got to see a double feature of The Thing and American Werewolf
Everything
in
about
London.
The Thing is just nice.
It was great.
Nice.
Kyle, give me your final thoughts on Aliens and Aliens Expanded.
So as far as Aliens go, I pretty much said it earlier. I think it is a perfect film, and it's one of the all-time. It's going to be timeless. It's always going to be up there on lists. It's always going to be a movie that people are going to show other people. But I think one of the most interesting things about Aliens is when it's all said and done and you look at everybody who's in this, you look at their careers, and Aliens, I think, except for maybe one or two exceptions, is not the apex of anybody's career in this, even though, when you think of James Cameron, you think it's one of his best films, but it's either got to be Titanic or Avatar for what they did in the box office. Sigourney has some amazing other roles out there. It might be the apex for the Ellen Ripley character, but that's what makes this even more fascinating is it's so high up there as a sequel, maybe the greatest sequel of all time, incredibly watchable film. But is it really the apex for any of the buddy who's involved in it? And that's what makes it, I think, so interesting. You're catching lightning in the bottle by having this cast who's not fully evolved yet, and yet you get this perfect film out of it. And it's just it's amazing, and it's one of those movies that when somebody tells me they haven't watched Aliens, I'm like, excuse me, what? And it's always going to be that way. Aliens Expanded, I give those guys enormous credit for the work they put into. It was definitely a true project of passion. A 4.5-hour documentary is a long watch, even if you break it up into sections. And Lacey, you get extra props this week for having watched it all at one time. But the great thing about documentaries like this is because they're so passionate, they dive in deep and they get all the little stories. Poor Lance Henriksen and what he went through getting food poisoning because they used curdled milk for him and covered him in that. I mean, it's just like, ugh. But, that it's all those little things. The story of Cameron buying the tea cart and then dumping it all out because he's so angry with the
tea cart woman. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all those little things. And it's a love letter to Aliens, and how they handled it was spectacular and visually stunning, and just it pulls you in and you want to know all these facts. And sometimes documentaries can be so flat there, even though they're giving you interesting facts, you tune out on them. Aliens Expanded doesn't do that. You are drawn into that documentary and you're riding the ride the whole time through, even if you have to take a few naps in between. But you've got maybe the greatest sequel of all time and one of the greatest movie documentaries of all time. And I think that says it all about the Aliens film.
All right, Aaron, give me your final thoughts on Aliens and Aliens Expanded.
No, I love Aliens. I love the original Aliens, and we'll keep it at that, just the original version. I think it's a great sequel. I think it's a great companion piece for both of them. So you've both got, Alien to Aliens, and then that is it. I think that's done, and especially with Ripley's journey. As you said, Lacey was right. She had all the drama in the first one, and then this came in. She fought her fears. It was therapy for her. She had a great therapy session, and in the end, she got a hot guy, might have a big of a scar on his face, and a little girl to look after. And that was sort of her, little present that she got for saving the day and everybody around until. But, I think that the documentary was great. I've seen their other documentaries, especially their horror stuff. I had a lot of fun with that. And, so as just, Aliens and aliens. Yep. That's it for me. Done. And yeah, now look, you've said Timothy Oliphant, so now I'm going to have to sit there with Lacey. But we will see. We will see. But would I go back and watch the other films? No. Would I watch Aliens if it was on TV? Of course, but then I'd do that with Seven, and that's a movie I get stuck on. So there are films you get stuck on that once it's on, you can't turn it off.
You're muted, Kevin.
Thank you. I had to do a little cough there. Thanks, Kyle. I'm going to start with Aliens Expanded. I had said that I think this is the best documentary on a movie I've ever seen, and I'm going to stand by that for now. And I really had to kind of think about of all the documentaries that I have seen, and I think it helped that it was long, but it was also very detailed. But you really got a chance to see a lot of the characters that didn't last too long shine, and that was one of the things that was great about this. And you see that it was a labor of love from the director and the producers and everyone else, and the fact that they got everyone that they could with this is just completely amazing. And talking to the people behind the scenes, I think there was also a psychiatrist or some doctor as well they talked to about it. I thought was interesting. It's very, very in-depth. I highly recommend it. Try to find a copy. Aliens for me has been a special movie for a very, very, very long time. And I've touched on this. It's one of my top 5 movies of all time. It's my favorite sequel of all time. And it's one of those movies that you can just drop in anytime and watch it. And it's also one of probably the most quoted movie of all time. And I think you kind of alluded to it earlier, Kyle, about how it feels like that maybe not everyone in the film, it was an apex moment for them, but everyone shined, everyone had a moment, and I got one of the best casts in a movie too, that just really gelled. Everyone had their moments, and it's just also one of the best action movies of all time. And one of the things I did want to mention too is this movie has been special for me for so long for many, many reasons, but also too, more recently, it's special to me because I get to share this with my wife. You and I bonded on this, Aaron, and our first date was watching this movie. And I love the debates we've had about the special edition to the theatrical edition. They've been some great conversations, and the fact that we've
that's all right. That's good. Yeah.
But more importantly, it's one of those things that I felt. And we got so much love from the response of us getting married on Alien Day as well. And we did a Las Vegas wedding.
And when I went for my green card interview, because he said it was the best thing of his day to look at our wedding.
Yeah, our wedding pictures. It was great. You did this great coffee book thing that had all the pictures and the testimonials from people that got to watch it live when it was video streamed. And it's just one of those great things too. We also got kick-ass wedding rings out of it as well. We found a jeweler, a Polish jeweler. Is that who it was?
I found it on Instagram. So much better.
Yeah, and he looked like a Viking,
Yeah, I know. And we got it just before COVID shut. You remember it was taking forever. He didn't know. We just wanted different, we wanted to be different. And that was
I remember when we were looking at rings and you're like, hey, go with me on this.
You were like, no, let's not get a ring. And I'm like, well.
And you're like, I found a guy, and so, but anyway, I'm just glad that I could share our fandom and our love for aliens with you, Aaron, and it will always be part of our life. And whenever and when Alien Day comes around and everyone that knows us, they're going to go, oh, happy Alien Day and happy anniversary. Well, guys, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. Let's try this again here. All right. A little slow. All right, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. Please, if you are listening to this podcast, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. And you can find the Fandom Podcast Network on Instagram, X. Of course, we're on Facebook. We're now on Blue Sky. Make sure you check us out there. Kyle, how can we find you, sir?
You can find me, of course, all over the Fandom Podcast Network. You can find me on X at AKyleW. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom, and you can find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW.
Awesome. Lacey, how can we find you?
I am in all the places at Lacy Pants. Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, Blue Sky, Discord, Letterboxd, Threads, all the places except for Instagram, where I am the Lacy Pants.
Awesome. Aaron, my lovely Aaron, where can we find you?
Oh, Instagram under Aaron Gill 666.
Awesome. My name is Kevin. You can find me, of course, on Facebook, Kevin Reitzel. Also, you can find me on all the socials at Spartan_Phoenix, on Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix. Kyle,
There's only one proper way to end this podcast, Kevin.
what you got?
Game over, man! Game over!
Game over! Well played, everyone. Kyle, thank you so much. Lacey, thank you so much. And Aaron, I know this is a long time coming. Thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's all right. Sorry but being in the future. You guys can't catch up to me, and the internet goes slow on your end.
We made it work. Well, anyway, until next time, everyone, we will see you on the couch. Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.